Okay, so I believe we are live. It is, let's see, what time is it? It's almost 1 o'clock. And it's 11:10, 2024, early Sunday morning. And we're going to go over the True Crime Weekly this week. Hope to maybe get a couple people up here on the panel and have some sort of like a panel live. But we'll see what happens. Let me play an intro and I'll be right back. Hope everybody's doing well this week. A lot of shit going on. Hold on, let me cancel that. I'll be right back, guys. Hey, buddy. Hey, Paula, how are you? Be right back. All right, so we are here. Hey, Southern Gal, how are you? Good to see you. Southern Gal's in here. Hope you're doing well, Southern Gal. Hey, Dean, how are you? Hey, Paula, good to see you. So what I'm going to do this week, I'm going to try to maybe get a couple people up here to discuss some shit. People don't want to come up, that's fine. What I'll do is I'll put the link in the chat. And then go from there. But it's good to see everybody. So let me do that here. Copy this. Put this here. Spell check. No, that's that right there. Hey, buddy, it's Necessarily Evil. Or Necessary Evil. Sorry. Tell I'm talking about. Good to see Southern Gal in here. Good to see Charles. True Crime Web's in here. My people's looking for Dave. It's easy to find me now. It's dark all the time. Steve's in here. Steve's in the house. Steve is probably just got done his live. I was watching of course, the Alabama game. So it's so I put the link in the chat. So if people want to come up, they can. I figured we'd go over the Delphi debacle here soon. It's good to see Southern Gal in the chat, though. Southern Gal's awesome. If you guys don't know who Southern Gal is, go check out her. She can put a link in the chat too. But she does awesome work. Steve does awesome work, obviously. Anybody that's got a channel, anybody that knows a channel, or anybody who wants to put their channels in there, go right ahead. All right, so let's Necessarily Evil's up here. Hey, buddy.
What's up, brother? How you doing?
Living the dream, man.
Yeah, ain't it though? What you gonna be talking about tonight? Delphi?
I'm gonna go a little over Delphi. Yeah, if we want to have a panel discussion on, that's fine.
Definitely works for me, man.
What? So let me play one thing that I found, because apparently they're deadlocked on something, right?
I believe they asked for two specific videos. The video with Holman involved in it. I'm guessing the interrogation, and also the video. What was the other one? I can't remember what it was.
I had it.
So did I. I had it right in my brain. Holman video and
Do you think? Yeah, I know that they asked for
Uh-huh.
videos, right? They asked
yeah, there
for
was
a
two separate
video.
videos they asked for. I'm not sure if they were done besides that, but they just asked for two videos right now.
I had it. I had it on here.
Mhm.
Hold on a second. Let me see if I can find it. All right, let's play this here. This is from is this CBS Indie? All right, hold on. Let me share this here. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. At least the hurricane stopped finally. We got hit by two in like 2 weeks, man.
Hey,
Didn't even
Big
play
Fish,
it.
how are you? Barbara Hall's in here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you guys been getting socked this year. I'm going to put the link again in the chat just in case anybody else wants to come up here. Southern Gal, you can come up too if you want. Anybody who wants, Steve, you can come up if you want. Are you surprised that it's gone this long?
I thought it was pretty fast. Or the deliberations, you mean? I
Yeah.
thought they'd actually be longer. My actual estimation was probably going to be at least Tuesday, maybe longer. Because every single time the judge lets the jury leave early, that's almost like her way of saying that they're not anywhere near
Right.
finished deliberating. Because if they
How long
were,
do you
they
think?
probably at least Tuesday. I don't know, tomorrow, Tuesday, somewhere in there, maybe Wednesday even.
How long do you think she'll let them go?
I've seen some juries sequestered in different cases for even more than a month or two, even while they were deliberating. So it's always a toss up.
I don't know. It's been such a weird case.
Don't
Strange
even
how
get
they're
started.
looking for videos. Let me play this here because this is
Holman. What was it? Holman. I don't think it was a Hoosier. Yeah, they didn't show a video for that. Oh, it might have been Libby's video and Holman's video, and it was two separate videos. Sorry.
that's weird because I don't think they'd be looking to see any of the. Let me play this here really quick because this is interesting here. Let me play this really quick.
14 hours of deliberation tonight. We are still waiting for a verdict in the Delphi murders trial. Jurors will be back Monday to decide whether Richard Allen killed Abby Williams and Libby German just off the Monon High Trail back in 2017. Here's our Russ McQuaid and Max Lewis, who've been in Delphi covering that case from the very start.
Well, this was the third day of jury deliberations in the Richard Allen Delphi double murder trial here at the Carroll County Courthouse. Max, this jury over the course of 3 days has been behind closed doors for 14.
Yeah, so I have just to let everybody in the chat know, Necessarily Evil's up here. He's an awesome guy. Do you have your own channel, buddy?
Actually, this is my channel. I'm probably going to do more with it soon enough, but there's a bunch of labs and stuff on there at the moment, mostly having to do with Delphi.
I've been trying to stay away from the Delphi like the plague, but it's just
I tried to. I just got too many darn friends that want to talk about it. I was just on Greeno and all kinds of other stuff.
it's just tough to get away from this case. It's just like every time you try to get now the trials on and now the verdict's coming, it's like it just doesn't want to go away. But I put just to let everybody in the chat know, I'll put the link in again. If you guys want to come up, go ahead. Yes, Honeybee. Honeybee's here. Hi, Honeybee. How are you? Big Fish, Smoke One, Dean Johnson. So who are you? I mean, what do you think?
What do I think? Oh, he's guilty.
Yeah.
In fact, when I get up to Indiana here very soon, I think it's about 3 or 4 days away, which has nothing technically to do with the trial, but I think I'm going to do a little experiment while I'm up there. I don't want to talk about it just yet, but I'm going to get
Yeah, that's fine.
Nino's help and Dan's help and all kinds of other people, which could be pretty badass.
Thank you, Southern Gal. She put your channel in here.
Thank you, Southern Gal.
Southern Gal, listen.
13 and a half hours.
Yeah.
If you were looking for a quick verdict, that clearly hasn't happened. What's taken so long?
Yeah, well, we know that there was some movement today, and we know that Judge Gall said before we even started deliberations that if the jury wanted to maybe see some evidence over again, that the attorneys and Richard Allen would have to come here and be present for that, and we witnessed that today. This was the first day we've seen some movement, really, because the defensive team arrived this morning around 10 o'clock, and then Richard Allen came shortly after. We know.
The strange thing that I learned a couple of days ago when it comes to Indiana law is if it's a circumstantial case like this is, right, it's not a really huge, this has been a whodunit. It started, right?
Mhm.
So, but according to Indiana law, if it's a circumstantial case, the jury has to be completely convinced that he did it, or
Mhm.
they have to go with the not guilty. And that's weird because
Well, I don't know about y'all. In Florida, whether it's a circumstantial case or not, you usually have to have the full amount of the jury to convict or whatever, just send them to jail or to death penalty or whatever.
yeah, because I honestly I think he's fairly guilty too, but I mean honestly, if I try to go into these things with a pretty open mind, to be honest with you.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But if I was on the jury, I don't know if I'd be able to say yes or no, to be honest with you. Thank God I'm not on the jury, though.
Actually, where I live, about a year and a half ago, we had a cold case from 1990 in a nearby city, but still in the county, that a babysitter and 11-year-old girl that she was babysitting were both SA'd and strangled to death. And I guess it was going to be on court TV, so they had all these. Because when you get usual jury duty or whatever, you just get a little postcard and you go down there and they do all this junk. But when it's a huge trial like this or Delphi or something like that, you get a huge envelope with a questionnaire and you find out who the suspect is, the victims, the charges, all kinds of different stuff. And I almost made that, but apparently they turned me down because I had a relative that had been murdered before, and that was one of the questions.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, it's actually still the whole trial itself is still on YouTube.
What case is that? Do I know about that case?
It's something song like Lillian Song or something like that, and I forgot the other lady's name, the older person's name, but basically it was out of Cape Coral, Florida, out of 1990. And they had DNA, they had the whole 9 yards. In this case, the suspect even elbowed the hell out of his lawyer right in the face.
No kidding.
He called the victim's mother a lazy fat pig who didn't wash her sheets for over a year, and that's why his DNA is still there.
Oh my
And
God.
all that's on, it's all on YouTube. Zeiler, Joseph Zeiler. If you want to look it up, Joseph Zeiler.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out.
I'll type it into the chat.
One thing about this case here, this Delphi case, is I think they kind of, but obviously that's not what the jury's talking about. But I kind of think they brought in a third-party suspect without even thinking about it. That's just my opinion. But obviously that the jury cares about.
Right. Honestly, I don't think the state did a very good case at all. That's why I want to do this little experiment when I get to Indiana. I don't know. I think something the state missed, and they could have just done this, and it'd been a lot easier to convict Richard Allen. I think right now they're jumping through hoops and hoping for either a guilty or a hung jury, and who knows, he might even be found not guilty for this at this point.
Yeah, I got
His
I got,
escort team. They were in there.
I got, I mean, I'm pretty much at 60% guilty. This is the jury anyways. This is by the jury. So
Right.
I think they're going to come back either 60% guilty, 30% hung jury, or 10%. I don't think they're going to acquit this guy. That's kind of obvious right this very second.
Yeah, you can't take the risk in letting a monster back on the streets again. You
Right.
either got to let the jury get hung or hit him with the guilty. And
Because if
with
they're
the way
going
they
this
got the
long,
confessions and the bullet evidence and all that other stuff piled on, I'm sorry, there's just too much.
yeah, confessions
either
are tough.
side.
Confessions are.
Well, they
Confessions are
practically
tough.
tortured the guy. I personally do think he's guilty, but at the same time, you can't just lock somebody in solitary confinement for well over a year and let him get messed with and all kinds of other stuff and expect your confessions to just stick.
They do this. If anybody's been in a jail setting or a prison setting, you know that this is how they do things.
Yeah, it's sad. It's exactly how they do things.
I mean, once they get you in there, they can pretty much do whatever they want. And they, especially if they don't have a good case, they're trying to get a confession out of you. That's what they do. And that's a good thing because that's how they catch the bad guy. But
You can't give them antipsychotics and lock them in solitary confinement for well over a year, though. I mean,
no, that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, that's going to drive anybody insane. Am I trying to say he didn't do it? No, I'm saying he did do it, but at the same time, they treated him like crap. So each one doesn't counteract the other one. That's all I can say.
All right, let me play the rest of this here.
For approximately four hours, and then they left. The jury was here for a little bit longer, but they left a little bit before 3:00 today.
All right, if that jury is coming in and we were led to believe they were looking at video evidence, they wanted to see it again on the big screen. Well, there's basically 4 kinds of video evidence in this case. We're all familiar with Bridge Guy video. There were 2 videos of Richard Allen's interview with police officers in October of 2022, which led to his arrest. There would be video of him being escorted around Westville Correctional Facility, and then there would be audio tapes of those phone calls.
This is the thing. Like when they had a chance to move him, I was pretty adamant that they should have moved him because I knew this was going to come up in court. The way he looked when they brought him in, I forget when that was, but when they brought him in, he looked awful. And I knew I had a feeling that was going to come back.
If it wasn't that first one, because I think in the first one, he was basically kind of faking it because when he got out of the range of the cameras, he stopped doing all the freaky twitches and stuff and looking at the roof. And then he started getting back to normal 100%, started looking around, sees a camera pointing right at him, and then he goes right back to deep, twitching right at, looking at the roof. It's like, come on, bro.
Hey, Jocelyn, how are you? Good to see you. Honeybee's in here. Barbara Hall's in here. Barbara Hall's an awesome person. I mean, I've been in those settings before, and people will do. I mean, it's not unusual for people to find religion in jail. I mean, it's what you do. I mean, you get free time, you get good time, you get out of your cell, and people will fake a lot of stuff in jail too. People will literally go crazy in jail. So it's.
Well, I think he's still walking around now with the Bible under his hand every time you see him too. So,
so
he's
weird.
faking it. He's faking it well.
So weird. I just, I knew this was going to come up at the trial at some point. How he was treated. It's, and it depends on the jury. If the jury buys it or not. It's. I've seen things in jail and prison, and it's just like, how can people do this to themselves? But people go nuts. You go from being free, and there's some people that love prison. They continue to go back.
I don't think they love it or anything. They just get used to the confinement or whatever, and having somebody control them and keeping them from getting in trouble.
You're in triage? What are you doing in triage? Jocelyn. All right, let me play the rest of this here. But they're talking about videos, and there's only 4 sets of videos, right? They have him on the bridge, or the bridge guy on the bridge. They have the interrogations. They also have the confessions in jail where he's being treated like crap. And then what's the other one they got?
With his wife, where he issued confessions to the murders of Abby and Libby. Looking at those 4 different kinds of either audio or videos, let's walk down through what would the jury want to look at a second time? Why wouldn't they want to look at something? What do you think they were looking at?
Yeah, there was a lot of talk during the trial, a lot of videos, particularly of him in Westville. So it's likely that they may have seen enough of that. But those other important videos, I mean, the whole crux of the prosecution's case is Richard Allen is Bridge Guy. So that Bridge Guy video may be very important to them, as well as Richard Allen before he went to Westville, before his arrest, speaking with police in his own words, repeatedly in those interviews, notably denying any involvement. But it might be up. The jury might want to see that again and see what's going on with it.
Well, what we saw in one of the first original interviews he did in 2022, he was first told, 1, you're not under arrest. Here's your Miranda rights. He continues to talk. During the first half hour of that, he's very helpful with police pointing out pictures on the map. No, I would have driven here. But you could sense in that video when they go, by the way, what were you wearing the day you were on the bridge, the day the girls disappeared? And when
Are you going out there to do some legwork, or? Did he jump off?
I'm going up there to see a lot of my friends or whatnot that's either living in the area or just visiting. There's going to be a floor walk that's coming up on the 17th also.
All right.
Yeah, just hang out with Jinx and people like that and stuff. And, well, I mean, if there's a sentencing, I'll be there for that too. So.
I wonder if
Go ahead.
what if they're taking a look at his walk? This whole, I don't know how you can, but I wonder if they're trying to gauge this guy's walk on the bridge by how Rick Allen is walking in the court. You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
is this?
Yeah, that's what Doug Carter. They might be. I mean, you got to think both videos actually have Bridge Guy in them. So if they're using both videos, maybe they're trying to compare a video of Rick Allen to the video that Libby took.
Because I don't know about the one thing I just don't believe in the 232 time of death thing. I don't buy that at all.
Well, yeah, everybody's entitled to their opinions or whatever. I mean, the only reason I think that they, at least I believe, it's because of the video itself and that you see Bridge Guy at 213 and stuff like that. He had to leave at some point, and his car left, and there's pictures of that, or at least it driving away and stuff. No, it's all a toss-up. I don't believe there's any other people helping him or anything like that either.
No, to get to the end of the bridge, down the hill, to the creek, across the creek, up that embankment, over into that kind of bowl setting where they were found, to get dressed or undressed and redressed. I don't know if that's possible. And if he's on the other side, how does he see the van?
Well, believe it or not, for the longest time, I actually learned I was wrong about something. I thought that the Webbers lived on the same side as Ron Logan and all that, but in fact, they actually live on the initial side. That would have been before the girls happened to be told to go across the creek, or they happened to run. I'm not sure which at this point still.
I don't know if I buy that. I'd have to go and look at that area to see if that's even possible, because, when you're talking about this guy, Brad Weber, coming home, right? He's not going to just kind of like drive. It really depends on when he's in that area, right? Where
Yeah,
he's going to be
he
seen from his van.
from what I remember from my friends that are at the trial and everything else, he clocked out of work at about 2:02 p.m. So there's no way possible at all that Brad Weber could have gotten from his job and been that man in that video on that bridge at 2:13. It's just
Right.
impossible. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
what I'm saying is,
Mm-hmm.
okay,
Are you
here's
talking
a
about the
scenario.
ATM stuff?
Here's a scenario, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've been playing on this for a couple of days now. Say Rich Allen is the guy that told the girls to go down the hill, right?
Right.
Say he walks up to them, he's fearing for their safety, he's tells them to get down the hill. They go down the hill, he takes off.
Right.
Brad Weber comes home, sees people on his property, and we know that he has a history of not liking people on his property.
Oh yeah, definitely. I've heard all kinds of stories, Mr. Weber.
I mean,
He
that's a
screams, he
possibility
yells,
too.
he calls the police, does all kinds of stuff.
Right, that's a possibility too, because I mean, what was I just thinking?
Well, I mean,
Him
Dave, have
putting
you
it,
seen
him putting him,
the
him
crime
putting
scene
himself.
photos and stuff?
I mean, him putting himself at the crime scene at 2:30 or around the crime scene doesn't do him any favors, right? So if if Brad Weber says that he's there at 2:30 when they're initially investigating the case, that puts him in direct contact with the girls pretty much at 2:30, right?
Yeah, but he still can't be the guy in the video. So that's why I ask most people now, I'm like, do you honestly think that the man in the video on the bridge had something to do with the crime? And the majority of people that still think Richard Allen is innocent will tell you, yes, I believe that the person in the video is the killer. Well,
Right.
okay. And
that doesn't necessarily make it true, though. It does, you know what I mean? That doesn't
No, it
necessarily make
doesn't.
it true.
He could have been a witness. For all we know, he got killed and they hit his body. He could have been an accomplice, but that still would have been, felony murder. There's all kinds of different possibilities.
And of course, Rick Allen's not going to come forward and say, "Yes, I'm the one that forced the girls down the hill," because that would pretty much impeach him. That would pretty much do it. But maybe he just walks up to them and says, "Hey, you guys aren't supposed to be on the bridge. Get off the bridge," and leaves.
From what I saw and heard from my friends who were at the trial, they have now seen the entire 43-second video of what Libby recorded, and she seemed to be looking around, looking for a way to get the hell out, while Abby was still a good 20 or 30 feet away, while bridge guy was a good 60, 65 to 70 feet away. And you can't even see him in the video most of that 43 seconds. If I remember right, she went to look at the trail of the part that would have been down the hill, trying to find a way to escape, possibly. And when she turned around and she adjusted her phone from horizontal to vertical or vice versa, you get this really quick, brief shot of bridge guy as he's coming right up behind Abby, and that's all. That's what we saw all along was the only footage they actually have of bridge guy on Libby's 43 seconds.
Where were you there? When were you there, Steve?
Oh, Steve said tons of times with Ruckus.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with this statement. I just, that whole Brad Weber thing to me is doubt. Whether they prove, I mean,
definitely possible.
Because now he's saying 3:30, right? He's saying, I mean, in the beginning he said at 3:30 or so. They couldn't prove that in court. That he went to go look at his ATM machines. But to me, that's even worse because if he was saying there's a lot of people that lied. There's a lot of people in this case lying. You have Ron Logan lying. You have this guy Brad Weber lying. You have everybody lying in this case. It's just Uh, it's so weird. Oh, take it. Have a good night, Honeybee. Good to see you. Honeybee's awesome.
Have a good one, Honeybee.
And I, you know, I personally myself, my opinion, I think he's fairly guilty, but there's a lot of doubt in this. You know, and there's a lot of doubt in any case. I mean, there's a lot of cases that I've seen people get convicted on less. I mean, honestly.
Well, yeah, I remember back about 4 years ago, there was a few people, including myself, that were trying to calculate out the whole height and all this junk of Bridge Guy or whatever. And at the time, I think I got about right under 5'5", which was funny because once Rick Allen was arrested and went to jail, that's exactly what his height was. But there's a lot of people that still believe that Ron Logan and the scale was actually like 6'2" and everything. It just doesn't make any sense to me, but
Yeah, no,
get your own.
There's no way I think that guy on the bridge is Ron Logan. There's just no way.
Nah.
But they
The spare tires missing. The way he dresses is completely different. The hair is so much different than what we see at the dump video. And he would literally have to leave the dump, go home, completely get showered, redressed nicely, and all this stuff, and then go out there and murder somebody. It just doesn't make much sense to me, I guess.
This guy here, though, this video that, you know, this image here, right?
Mhm.
If you look at this video, what is it? I can't remember how many frames this is, but
Oh, I can't remember.
it changes every single time. Like you look at this
Mhm.
guy one second, and then you look at him another second. He completely looks different. Completely, like looks like he's got a 5 o'clock shadow here, and then you look at it again, that shadow's gone.
Right.
This image here of the the sketch here, this is not who Betsy Blair saw. So I don't know why they keep bringing this one in, because this guy here,
I mean, are we sure though? I mean, at first you saw him from like 60 or so feet away, and then he did come by her and make a statement, a small little, like, I think I've heard the words, "Hey, you waiting for someone?" And he basically told her, "I'm waiting for someone, definitely not you." I don't know if that meant these specific girls, any girls, I don't know. But he, yeah, had that little exchange with her.
yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty sure that this image here, because most of the witnesses saw this hair, right?
Right.
And most of the witnesses said he was a little bit taller than. I mean, like that to me, that's the biggest thing. That's the biggest hiccup I get is the 5. Richard Allen is a very small guy. He's not even, you know.
Well,
He,
well,
in
oddly,
my
have you
opinion,
ever seen somebody that their height itself actually made them look taller because of how big their body itself was compared to their height? I mean,
usually if I see somebody 5'4", I'm gonna notice that. It'd be like if somebody was on the bridge and they were 7 feet tall. It's the same.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Kind of thing. Like this guy here is 5'4", but he's not big either. If you look at him in court, he's really short.
But he's almost 100 pounds less than what he would have been at the day of the murders, too.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, for all 6 witnesses to say that I think one of the witnesses said she came up to his shoulders.
Hmm.
That's why you can't. I mean, I understand the whole witness statement thing. You can't really go by what witnesses say, but they had 6 of them.
Yeah, but did you notice anything about those entirely 6 witnesses? They didn't once say that the man in the video is the guy that's sitting over there at the table. None of them, if I remember right, nobody compared and said, "Yeah, that's him. That's him." You know.
Right. But I think witnesses themselves. Yeah. It's a circumstantial case, right? So
right.
Witnesses themselves have some sort of credibility, I guess. I don't know how much that is.
Right.
Confessions are really bad. Confessions, they're just awful. They're just I think they're almost as good as DNA. I mean, people just hear confessions and they just think if somebody's going to confess to this, then they
Yeah, I
probably
mean,
did it.
he
You know, it's-
probably did, and the confessions are probably good. It's just how did they go about getting them, and I'm not sure if later on in the appeals process they might just be thrown out in the first place. You never know.
Right.
And plus,
because
he was on
I've seen so many
antipsychotics.
cases where
Mhm.
people will swear up and down they did it, and then come to find out they had nothing to do with it. It's just so
Oh,
weird
that's
how
nothing.
people. I mean, I would guarantee in this case they probably had hundreds of confessions in
Right.
the tip
There
line.
was a
People calling.
case I studied one time where a pregnant wife was beaten darn near pretty badly to the point where she almost died and the baby almost died. And she swore up and down, still to this day, which has been like 20 or 30 years now, I think, that her husband was the one that attacked her in the motel. Well, they found DNA and they checked the DNA. And finally, when they got a suspect, not only was it not the husband, it wasn't even close. The looks, the race, everything was completely different. And she still swears to this day that her husband was the one that attacked her.
I think I know that case.
Yeah, it's a crazy case, too.
There was the case.
I do believe
I
she
think
did get some brain damage, though, in the process. So that might be also partially reason why she's not able to identify somebody very well.
Steve.
So,
Oh. It's so funny. There's the famous case on Dateline where they had this guy in the in the interrogation room for like 17 hours, and they kind of said, "Well, we'll let you go if you just give us something, give us something." So he actually ended up saying he did it, and then comes to find out he had nothing to do with it. It
of
was that
course.
famous case where they brutally murdered the family in the house, and it wasn't him at all. It was like a whole bunch of people that
Well, you said DNA was involved or not?
yeah, they got DNA from it was
Yeah,
is
so
a chick and two guys that just
so it's
decided
not
to
going to
rob
be
somebody's house.
Amityville or anything like that. Chicken two guys. Man, I've been studying cases since I was 8 years old, man. Like, you just described about, I don't know, half of them at least.
It's so weird how some people just put themselves in the crime. You know, they'll just they have nothing to do with the crime, but yet they'll insert themselves into the crime for some
Well,
reason.
have you ever heard of Henry Lee Lucas and Otis Toole? They're called the Confession Killers. Basically, they confessed to well over 200 murders each, and it turned out they barely killed like 8 to 10 people.
Is that the guy
or
in
so.
Texas?
Yeah, Henry Lee Lucas is from Texas. Otis Toole, if I remember right, is from Florida. But they were little buddies and other stuff, so they ran together for a long time. They
Is that
would
guy
they would
Lucas?
confess for a strawberry milkshake.
Yeah, that's the guy that they gave him everything in jail just for the confessions.
Mm-hmm.
They like had him in. They was like palling around with him. They were giving him coffees and sending out
Mhm.
dinners for this guy, and he was confessing to all these crimes across the country, and he
Oh yeah.
didn't do any of it.
I think he even told Otis Toole when Otis Toole was brought into the same room, he's like, you gotta ask for stuff before you give the confession. And then Otis Toole started getting the stuff too. And if you don't, Otis Toole has been, since his death, he's been blamed for the murder of Adam Walsh, which is John Walsh's son from America's Most
Oh, really?
Wanted. Yeah, well, I don't believe it, but yeah, that he is the one that is blamed for the crime. I'm more
I know.
likely to believe Jeffrey Dahmer did it, but that's just me.
I'll be. It's just so weird how people will, I know those conditions though. When you get into an interrogation room, man, they'll work you over. You know what I mean? You think who did it?
Yeah, back when I was a little kid, I got questioned and all kinds of different stuff that I guess I don't want to get into at the moment, but
Right.
they talked my parents into leaving me with them, and I was probably like 13 years old or so, 14, and they kept trying to hit you with these double-ended questions and all kinds of other things to try to get something out of you. And if you're not paying attention, you will be in some serious trouble. In
Oh,
fact, never talk to the police. Just saying, just don't do it.
yeah, they'll bait you into questions. They'll bait
Mhm.
you. It's basically a sales technique. You know, they get a lot of that
Mhm.
stuff from auto dealers and how they question people. It's called objection building. Let's go back to this here. Hold on a second.
When I watch that, he draws back a little bit and there's a pause when it is suddenly dawning on him what they're talking about. But then, of course, he goes on and cooperates for another hour when he learns at the end he's a likely suspect. And then there are more videos from a week later when he meets with the state police, and they actually eventually at the end of that video put him under arrest.
Yeah, and that's going to be maybe important to the jury because maybe they accept, okay, he was crazy, he went psychotic up in the prison, okay, but let's actually look at when he was not, and what were his body movements, what did he say? Does that give us any idea? But it's really anybody's guess what that jury's talking about up there.
All right, Judge Gold told the jury she was going to give them Sunday off. That's away from their families. They don't have an opportunity to access media, even visit with their families like they usually do. And Max, we all come back to work Monday morning as the deliberations in the Richard Allen Delphi double murder trial will go.
So that's that. I find it weird that's what they're hung up on is some of the videos. Or one of the
I don't get it
videos.
either.
It's how do you think the jury's on? I mean, some of the jury questions have been really weird.
Yeah, I mean, I heard they got all kinds of different people that either work with cell phones and all kinds of other stuff, nurses, et cetera, et cetera. It makes kind of sense, and we just need to know what their trail of thought is and why they're actually having to look at the videos.
A lot of these cases, I think some of the jury members make their mind up pretty quickly. Usually it comes down to a couple of jurors that they got to kind of convince to join their side,
Right.
But if the one thing I don't think anybody wants is to have to go through this again.
We're doing that exact thing right now in Florida with a rapper named Melly. He's now on his second trial for double homicide of his best friends.
Yeah, it's retrials and appeals and these things. I mean, the family's got to be going through hell. This is awful because it's once is enough.
Not mentioning all the junk that's going on outside too, involving the outside fighting outside.
You had one confession thrown out, probably him signing "Love Jim." Had a lot to do with it.
I remember hearing one of those confessions. He shot girls in the back, and we all know that's not true. So
yeah, that's. I've seen weird things though. I've seen a lot of people just call in and say I did it, then they got to go. I mean, I'm pretty sure you've been following this case forever too. There's
over
been
7 years now.
Bizarre theories in this case. This case takes the case when it comes to theoryisms and.
Which bizarre theory would you like, my friend? I can give you the Mexican cartel one. Yes, the Mexican cartel one is a very, very fun one. It involves the Indiana State Police being at a wedding from a casino owner in Las Vegas, where, mind you, the Kleins were visiting at the time. And ISP were actually at this wedding for this cartel leader's daughter of the Gulf Cartel, which, mind you, am I the only one that thinks that sounds a little bit fishy? I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Why would cops be going to a cartel? Yeah, you know what I'm saying. But
you had
also
people swearing up and down that they had literally images of the crime scene. Remember that, where they could see the crime scene.
That you mean Raffy? Yeah, freaking Raffy. Yeah, I know. You can, if you get the blur to go away, You can see the bodies on the banks of the water.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
But you can take all of that stuff, right? You could just, it made it more unbelievable, like
Yeah, basically. I mean,
who knows with
luckily
this
the
case.
jury doesn't have to go through everything that we did because we couldn't tell what was going to be rumor, what was true,
Right,
what was
right.
not, all this other stuff. From the get go, we had the texts and we had leaks all over the place. We had fake leaks, we had real leaks. Yeah, this whole thing's just been nuts.
So we're having like a discussion here. If somebody wants to come up, you can come up. The other thing I want to know is how they were ruling people out. Because remember Daniel Nations? Daniel Nations got ruled out. And the thinking back then it was that he got ruled out because they took his DNA and it wasn't a match.
Well,
I don't know
believe it or not, from what I've known for quite a few years, they seem to have, but it can't be used in court, by the way. So before anybody asks, a partial DNA profile of male genetic DNA. And now, see, when you have a partial DNA profile like that, it can be used to exclude but not convict. So they can eliminate people using this partial profile, but at the same time, it's not going to help them any other way.
Yeah, but if they had that, why didn't they just do pool DNA?
I don't know. I have no idea.
And I agree with.
I don't think they had enough DNA itself to get more than the sample that they have, and if they use it too much, it's going to destroy the entire sample, and it's just going to be gone.
Oh, maybe they didn't have enough. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, when the technology gets better, they might be able to replicate the DNA, which I've seen in quite a few different things. And if they replicate the DNA, then they might get a full sample, and then who knows?
They also could have made a lot of mistakes. Like I think it was a mistake not taking.
Oh no, they did. They made a lot of mistakes.
Like some of the female DNA that was out there, they should have tested because that could have come from anybody. You know what I mean? Like some of the female.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they caught what's his face, Rex Heuermann.
Mm-hmm.
They got his wife's DNA out there, so that tied it back to him.
Yep.
And
I said the same thing.
It has to be. There just has to be DNA out there. It just has to be. I mean, they just didn't find it, or they didn't look. It's. And I think they kind of went a little cheap. Maybe those things cost a lot of money, so maybe they.
Right.
If they decided to not pursue that was probably a money thing. Yeah, I agree with this.
Yeah, as far as I know, from all the crime scenes I've looked at over the past 30-something years, it always was everything you find that you test, and once it can be corroborated or whatever by something else or somebody else, then you get it out of the evidence file. But anything else, you don't know what you have if you don't test
it. Yeah, it's crazy. It's really. I agree with this though. What Steve said about the jury time, it can go either way. You never know what a jury's thinking. It's. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's some stats out there that tell you that the longer the jury goes, it usually favors the defense. But, those numbers are so skewed because it depends on, the circumstance.
Right.
There's more than guilty or not guilty or hung. They can choose kidnapping, which led to murder or felony murder and or regular murder.
Felony murder. Yeah, exactly.
I think they're going to go. I think
was like 4 charges, like the 2 murders and then the 2 felony murders. That's what I always thought.
Yeah. They want to. I think that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to do what they can to either convict this guy or not convict this guy. But sometimes there's a jury you just can't turn. Sometimes there's just 1 or 2 people that's their decision. They're going to stick to the decision. There's nothing you can do to change their mind. We've seen that a lot in this case. It's like, I don't know. I wasn't
that's
there.
What they claim. Give them a couple of months, and all of a sudden they're on a different suspect.
Yeah. So I think I think you're right though. I think by Wednesday they'll probably have some sort of a, if not that, I don't know how long she's gonna let them go, because this is costing the state a fortune. Like
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's a law or a right or something like that that's in the Indiana, whatever the hell they got. But I don't know if there's going to be anything there that they can use to test. They might just need to, take certain things like the snake, cut them apart, measure each piece by each piece. There's a bunch of different things you can do to identify Bridge Guy in that video.
I think it's harder. It's harder to convict somebody in Indiana than I thought it was. Like some states are really different. Some states you basically have to. I mean, that whole reasonable doubt thing, that's up for interpretation with everybody. But in some states, it's easier to get a conviction than others, I think. And this is going to be a tough one here. This is. I think they want to get it right, but I don't know. This guy looks nothing like this guy, though, at all. The sketches were. Let me play a little of this here. As long as Gray's not on there, we're good. All right, what am I doing? I'm gonna present this.
What was
here.
that? You want me to get Gray on here?
Yeah, keep Gray. Keep Gray up here.
I know lots of people in this community. We get all kinds of people up here.
So funny. All right, let's play this here. This is
journalists, podcasters, and true crime followers all speculate. Bring it for you here on this program each and every night with our great in-depth coverage and insiders who are inside that courtroom. When you think about this case, you think about this story, it's an incredibly tragic loss because you're talking about two young girls, best friends, living their best innocent lives in a small town in Indiana.
These two kids right here are what made this case. I think people, for the most part, most people truly just want these kids to get some justice here, because this is just annoying. This is like this whole abuse they went through out there. It's just awful.
Everything should be great. Everything should be great. On that day, they were off from school and, they decided to go do something together. Rather than sit around, play video games or goof around on social media or do anything like that, they were going outside. And they were actually going.
Yeah, the courtroom artists, that looked more like Peanuts.
Agreed.
Artists there. That was awful. Heather, if you want to come up, you can come up. Barbara Hall, you can come up if you want to come up. Steve, post a link in the chat again. Southern Gal, if you want to come up, you can.
To walk over this really dangerous bridge, the Monon High Bridge. And I guess it's sort of a rite of passage. I think all the folks from that area at one point or another try to see if they could walk over that bridge.
Yeah, I've known about the white van for a while. I've known about that. That's not news to me.
I mean, if technically you think back to the first time we heard that Brad Weber came home at a specific time, that Bridge Guy might have been out there killing the girls, you could probably take that back all the way 6 years. We didn't know about the van yet, but that was the only kind of vehicle he had registered in his name back then.
Yeah, I think Tom Webster was a Tom was somebody tried to get satellite image of that vehicle.
Tom.
I think that was Tom.
Yep,
He just couldn't do it because the satellites at the time couldn't get that a clear image of what that vehicle was. But I've known, the only thing that's new that I didn't know that much about was the trail cam. But I remember watching Hoosier Cold Case, and he had that doctor. I forget who it was. He told me the other day. I forget again. But he had a guy on there that wrote a book, and he's the one that said there was another trail cam out there that nobody was talking about.
You're not talking about Chris Todd, are you?
No.
Okay, okay.
Guy had a German last name. I forget his name. He was a famous author or something, or forensic guy.
I've probably heard of it, just can't think of it.
I was watching Hoosier Cold Case one night, and he was reading from the book that he wrote, and he mentioned that that trail cam. And here we go, right in the trial, right? It's all of a sudden there's a trail cam. Hey, buddy, if you go to sleep, man, see you later. True Crime Web. Steve's awesome, great guy, awesome guy. Try not to wake Mrs. Steve. I'm pretty sure she's tired. Let's go. All right, let's go back to this.
You're looking at it right here. I mean, no.
I'm assuming this is a heavily hunted area. On private property, there's going to be some sort of a trail cam out here somewhere. That's just my opinion, right? I mean, especially where the Brad Weber is, and even Ron Logan didn't want people on his property. He had got stuff stolen from him. Oh, Don's up here. There you are.
Hey, what you doing?
Hey, what are you doing? How are you?
I'm good. Just been listening.
You've just been listening. Steve's in here. Steve's down in the chat.
I know, I saw.
You doing all right, everybody? Everything's all right over there?
You talking to me?
Yeah.
Yeah, everything's good. I've just been busy with work and my channel and, life.
I was on there the other night when you had that guest on.
Oh, yeah, Miss
now.
Sarah. Yeah, it was Marissa Carmichael's mother.
But when I drive around at night, some places I get really good service and some places I don't. So
Yeah.
I was going in and out, so I couldn't talk about that.
Yes, Heather Brown, it's me. It's just for some reason it's got my old avatar instead of my new one.
One was, and I'm like, Dawn. Southern gal.
Yeah.
So what do you think?
I lean towards my opinion, the state, but I don't know. He put himself there. You have the confessions, you have the bullet. Although, like Mr. Steve says, I have questions about how they tested the bullet. So, I lean towards guilt.
I'll tell you one thing right now, and I don't think the state did a really good job. That's just my opinion.
No.
Like you could have done a worse job in this, and I think thinking back to another case that did a job like this is the OJ case. I mean, they just got completely blown out of the water in that case by better defensive team. And by the end of the trial, I mean,
Casey Anthony.
I mean, I don't think it was that bad in this case, but they just, and I really believe that some of the stuff that they tried to keep out of the case actually hurt them in this case. Because if they would have done a data dump of cell phone service, they probably would have got his phone in that somewhere around that area, and that would have been a slam dunk.
There's a much easier standard procedure that they didn't follow that would have probably gotten the guy caught before 2018 even rolled around.
Yeah, I mean, and
they knew the car, they knew he was at the scene, they knew the rims on the car and everything else. They went there, then they get the car's brain. They find exactly what time he parked there and what time he exactly left because it only had a 90-day life range on the car's brain. And then you find the gun, and then the interviews, and everything starts happening just a lot earlier than what it's supposed to.
Yeah, it's the state's forensics examiner, the bullet expert there. She didn't do a good job at all. She just didn't.
It was horrible.
Bad. bad.
I kind of figured it would be though, because the second somebody said unspent round and we
Yeah.
can tell the markings, I was like, no, that's some BS right there.
And it's one of some of the problem was the questions that they got from the prosecution. You know,
Mhm.
it's just I don't know. I don't know what that was all about, but it was not good. And I don't think the defense did a great job either, but I don't think they stuck their foot in their mouth like the prosecution did.
Well, it became
It's one-
even worse because they tried to say that they had to actually fire the gun or whatever to get an actual shell casing that would match up to the markings that were found on that.
Don't
one
say
single
that. Right.
bullet.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
But I do.
No, I'm talking about what you're saying with her. I mean, if you're
Oh.
gonna say that, don't say it. Say it silently, right?
I'm bad.
It's weird.
Rails on the side. It's the wood slats, little rickety, but they did it. Like they made it over the bridge, and then there were some trails near the woods that you could walk around. And there were other people out that day because it was a little bit warm for February in Indiana. It was like in the 50s, which is actually a really nice day in the dead of winter. And they were having an innocent, good time, but they made it over the dangerous bridge. And the question is, timeline of what witnesses say they saw and where Richard Allen was and where Abby and
I
Libby
moved his head because I wanted to play this here.
were. So I want to go through that right now. This is sort of a timeline map that we've put together, try to understand what was going on that day. And we begin at
So
1:26
there's that bench, right? That's the infamous bench.
Right.
p.m. Bree Wilbur is sitting on a bench near Mears Gate entrance to the trails when she sees Bridge Guy. Okay, so she sees Bridge Guy. Bridge Guy, that's the video we've been seeing all the time. There he is. 1:43 is when Libby's sister.
So Bree Weber is one of the younger girls that saw him, right?
I believe there was 4 younger girls that saw him,
Yeah.
and at least 2 of them were sisters and all that good stuff.
But Bree Weber is one of those. Just in case
Yeah.
some people don't know who that is.
Kelsey drops Abby and Libby off across.
So this keeps changing because I thought this was closer to like 150 when she actually ended up dropping off. But 143 works for me.
Yeah.
Remember, this was early on in the case. This was closer to like 130. Remember that?
Yeah.
And that's why early on. That's why I had a problem with the timeline because 130. Libby takes the image of the entire bridge right at like 2:00. So what were they doing for a half an hour? That's what. But when they came out with the PCA and they said I think they said 146.
Right.
That changed it for me. That's when I started to say, oh, okay, they weren't just standing around for a half an hour.
From Mears Farm. So now they're dropped off by Mears Farm. And, before that, you see the Bridge Guy near the entrance of the trails. 2:00, another witness. Her name is Betsy Blair. She sees Bridge Guy on the first platform.
This person here, Betsy Blair, is probably the only sane witness they had, right? Like,
Now she's the one that saw the older Comet or whatever car that she said.
yeah. She's the only one that actually saw the guy, whoever she saw on the bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's the one that says she saw some sort of a comet. I don't
Yeah,
know.
some kind of old classic car that would look nothing like a Ford Focus or whatever it is that
Right.
Richard Allen drove.
And she's the sane one, right? Like,
Sorry about those questions. Yeah.
who sees a comet? Like, you just don't. You have to
Yeah.
really be looking to see a comet. Like that's. I
Yeah.
think I had
I mean,
a comet.
yeah. And if you were like a classic, because I'm into classic cars and muscle cars and old cars, so I would naturally look for it. But I would think that unless you're into classic cars, old cars, that you wouldn't,
Right.
it wouldn't stand out to you.
I wonder if they could prove there was a comet. Did they prove that there was a comet around at the time?
I don't know. That's what I've always wondered too, because nobody ever mentioned it that I heard.
I don't think they ever found a comet registered in that area. Did they? I don't know. Is Evil still here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
Did you notice if they see
That
that's the investigation, right? The investigation's really weird. They didn't even look into that. That's like weird. That would be the first thing. Like
like I said, you can make you probably take a whole sheet of paper and fill out all of the simple little mistakes to major ones that the cops made in this case. Like father, like
Yeah.
son. Doug Carter's dad was the one that was in charge of the Burger Chef murders. And if you know that case, you know that was
Yep.
even worse than here.
Of the Mona
I mean, I try to give law enforcement the benefit of the doubt. And there's going to be mistakes in any investigation. People are human, but some of the mistakes in this case, you just scratch your head. It's blatant.
Monon High Bridge, and said that he seemed to be looking for someone.
How the hell?
Okay, so 2:00, there he is, first platform of the Monon High Bridge. And again, when they identify this guy, it's the guy from the video. It's the guy from the video that the witnesses are identifying. 2:00, Betsy Blair is walking away from the Monon High Bridge as she passes Abby and Libby, who are walking towards the bridge.
Yeah, they were all of these people, if this is true, were in the same area at the same time.
Mhm.
You have Betsy
Yeah.
Blair walking away. You have the girls walking towards them, and then you have whoever this is. They're all in that same vicinity, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I
think it's
wonder
between
if
the Freedom Bridge and the Monon High Bridge, I guess, right?
right. And I wonder if Abby and Libby thought that maybe, Betsy Blair and this guy were together. Maybe that's why they didn't, panic at that point, because they're walking by these people and maybe they thought that they were, a couple out here and didn't think anything of it because, that's what
Yeah, the
people
ones I'm
just-
thinking of got murdered, and what was it? Basically, they were by themselves, and it was pretty messed up.
I mean, it's crazy to have all these four people in the same area at the same time, right? It's just, ugh.
And yet Richard Allen
Which is
says,
interesting.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
no, that's why I was going to say, Richard Allen said that he admitted to seeing the group of 3 girls or 4 girls on the Freedom Bridge. And then if his timeline is true, his original timeline, and the lady that, not Betsy Blair, the lady that saw, that passed Abby and Libby right before, where she saw the bridge guy standing on the bridge, and then saw Abby and Libby just a minute or two after, and he never said that he saw Abby and Libby, but yet he saw everybody else.
Well, I think his, that's the other problem. His original statement is kind of, I don't know. It's weird because Dan Doolin, right? He never recorded it. Did he ever record that?
I don't know.
And that's the problem I have with this whole thing is they sent this guy out to interrogate witnesses and stuff like that. And with a pad of paper, really? I mean, it's just, to me, that's just weird. To me, that's weird. Where they have all these investigators all over this case, and they send this guy out to investigate some of the witnesses that were actually there. with a pad of paper. That doesn't make any sense. It's just odd,
Yeah.
right? You know, like, who does that? I know if you have a shortage of people, but these people didn't have a shortage of people there, investigators. Very sudden and stuck, yeah.
Thing, right? So Betsy Blair's walking in the opposite direction, first sees the bridge guy, then sees Abby and Libby, which tells me that Abby and Libby are going to be walking past the bridge guy. Because at 2:13, the bridge guy is captured on video on Libby's phone in the background, as if they've walked past him. So at that point, 2:13, Libby and Abby have gone past this bridge guy. So the bridge guy is going to now, standing there, whatever he's looking for, sees two young girls by themselves. 2:32 is when
See, what I remember from the PCA is Richard Allen said that he got back, he got off the bridge and went and sat on a bench. Remember that?
Yes.
So after Betsy Blair said that she saw somebody on the bridge, she starts walking back towards the Mears lot here, and he gets off the bridge and goes sits on a bench. Right? So that's why I'm saying, if these two girls see someone creepy sitting there, are they going to go across the bridge at that point? That's what I'm saying. Maybe these two thought that they were together, and it wasn't. Because I think Betsy Blair was completely freaked out that there was somebody standing there on that bridge like that. That's just my opinion. But if I'm a woman and I go out here to take a walk, and I see some creepy guy standing there, I'm a little freaked out about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I definitely wouldn't have. I would have turned around and went the other way.
Right? I mean, I know it's the middle of the day, but still, you just don't expect to see somebody standing there looking like, it seems like she thought he was looking for her. And that's just, to me, that's a little creepy. I mean, I'd have taken off.
Yeah, it's a lot creepy.
I mean, it's, that's why I'm pretty sure she got a really good look at him, because it's like, who the hell is that? And if I see somebody standing there that's 5'4", I'm going to probably remember that.
Just shooting.
Yeah.
I can't reiterate that enough. Like 5'4" is really short for a guy. That's
yeah, I'm like a foot taller than he is.
almost. I hate to say this because I'm probably going to piss off a lot of people, but that's almost midget size, right? That's almost That's a
hey,
small
come
guy.
on! I'm 5'4" on a good day.
Right, you're a girl, right? Girls are
supposed to be small and petite. That's
right. I mean, if you saw a 6'7" girl out there, you'd probably say, "Wow, she's tall," right?
Yeah, I would probably notice height as far as short guys, like you said, and taller girls. I would probably notice that more before I would notice eye color, hair color, clothing, things of that nature.
I know witness statements, they're what they are. I mean, by witness statements alone in a trial, you're probably falling into a trap. But 5'4", that's and he's not a big guy either. It's not like he's 5'4" and 5'4" wide. He's a really tiny guy. You can see it in court. When he's standing next to other guys, he's
a bowling ball. That's him. He's a bowling ball.
It's sincerely funny. It's true though. I'm not saying that has anything to do with it. I'm just saying that's something that I would. And if he's sitting there, maybe that's why she thought he was young. Because he was so short. Like I'm not a fully grown adult yet. I don't know.
Libby's phone stops moving, and prosecutors made a big deal about this. They believe this is the time that the murders are taking place. We get to another important time and another important witness. 3:56, Sarah Carbaugh.
Does anybody believe this person here? Sarah Carbaugh. She's
That
the
this
one
is the bloody and muddy woman,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, she changed her story like 16 times.
Yeah.
That I know of. Not saying that she's not credible. I'm just saying it's of all the witnesses, she's the one that I don't trust the most. I don't even think she saw anything, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
It's really fishy to me, you know. I said muddy, but then I said bloody, and then I said, and then he's
And then it was muddy and bloody, and yeah.
tan jacket. Now it's now he looks like the bridge guy after she's actually saw the video or the still footage. I don't know. She may be credible, but I don't know. I don't know if I'd believe her.
Yeah.
Was she from? Was she wasn't from Delphi either, right? Necessarily. I don't think she was from Delphi.
Which one?
Sarah Kavanaugh.
Oh no.
I think she was from outside of Delphi, I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why she didn't recognize him around town.
I would think if they had just shown all the information that they had, that somebody would have tipped them in a lot faster. You know, or if they had just done their job, they would have found them pretty damn quick. Because Richard Allen's car was the only one of that specific type in the entire county that was that color and all that other stuff, and an SUV edition hatchback. You know, and we also see pictures of him at work and many other places where he's happily loves to back into his spot, just like the witnesses say that bridge guy did. If that car says, which it's gone now, so it probably was.
I mean, she could be credible. I don't know, but I just, you know, whenever
Oh,
people
yeah,
start
possible.
changing their statements, well,
Mhm.
that's what I'm talking about. In this case here, you got a lot of people that are lying, and a lot of people that are not. They tell the truth one day, and then they don't tell the truth the next day. It's
Oh, no kidding.
I'd be a little suspicious of that.
There's a lot of things I'm suspicious about, let alone that.
It's like one of those bad police dramas, you know.
Is driving past the
You know
Hoosier
where they just let the guy go. You know, okay, you're lying to us. It's okay in a murder investigation. It's fine. Just go. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
Harvest store on CR 300 North when she sees a muddy, bloody man walking west on the north side of 300 North away from the Monon High Bridge. So I think through this timeline and the map, you can kind of see the movements of everyone connected to what happened
Is
here.
Barbara Hall leaving?
No, I think I misunderstood her. She said she was going to
Oh.
run. I thought she meant she was leaving.
I think I did that to her last live. I think somebody said she was leaving, and I'm like, okay, good night, Barb. Oh, I forgot to do this. Hold on a second.
Yeah. Because around my
Miss
parts, when
Barbara-
you say I'm going to run, that means you're leaving.
Yeah. Miss Barb is an amazing freaking person. She's
Yes, she
incredible.
is.
Is
She's
she?
always-
I didn't know that.
She's there's a steal. We all love Miss Barb for sure.
Absolutely.
And you see the connection.
And thank for Southern Gal, because if it wasn't for Southern Gal, I wouldn't have known about the case. She can put the thing up in here too. The petition.
Oh, gotcha.
And you see the way
Oh, Timmy's
prosecutors are
petition?
putting the
Yeah, she can put, if she wants to put that up in here, she can. She's got
Yeah,
a
I'll grab it right quick and put it in.
red. She got a red.
bridge guy right next to and in the vicinity of Abby and Libby based upon this eyewitness testimony. Let's bring in our
I wanted to get Dean and Heather up in here tonight too, but apparently they don't want to come up. But If
They want to
anybody
be
wants
party poopers.
Right?
I'm kidding.
I think I can have up to 5 or 6 people in here. I think, I don't know.
Hmm.
Our think tank, see what they have to say about all this tonight. Joining us tonight, criminal defense attorney Eklund Mercy. Also with us, retired criminal defense attorney Kirk Nurmi, and former federal prosecutor Nima Rahmani. Welcome, everyone. So, how effective is all of this, putting all of this together, where the eyewitnesses are seeing the bridge guy in the vicinity in the same time that they're seeing Abby and Libby? Eklund, I think this is absolutely crucial.
Yeah, and I think it doesn't help the prosecution much, because it's the next question I'm going to ask is, what did you do after you saw a bloody, muddy man? Did you call the authorities?
No, she didn't contact anyone until like 3 weeks later.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah. If I saw a muddy, bloody man, I would be on the cell phone calling 911 immediately.
That would have been my day, like, oh, now I got to call the cops. Oh my God, now I got to stop, call the cops. I just saw somebody walking down the street, muddy and bloody. There goes my day,
Jeez, Dave.
Damn it, I'm just trying
And
to get home.
Yeah. And I might not necessarily call because I would thought that he had done something wrong. My first thought would be, oh, he's hurt. He or she is hurt. Let me call 911 to get him some help.
Right. You want to be the good Samaritan, and then next thing you know, you're facing
Yeah.
murder charge, right? It's like, oh my God.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel bad.
Then your day is ruined.
Yeah, that's. I want to have my coffee.
Talking about ruining your day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's my problem there. And then we have the bridge guy. The issue is that the defendant here has a very distinct facial feature. Like, he has a very distinct.
I'm telling you right now, though, if they get an acquittal in this case, man, oh my God, that'd be absolutely horrible. Oh my God.
All hell is gonna break loose.
That would be like, then the case is over at that point, right? That would be just
Yeah.
I'm just talking straight out of, like, I'm pretty sure for the Allen family that'd be great, but for the Patty family and the girls' families, if there's an acquittal in this case, man, wow,
Yeah.
that would be
beard. And regardless if you're muddy or bloody or what have you.
We have to be honest here, Eklund. However he looks in this photo is 5 years after the double murder. This thing wasn't solved overnight. Should have been solved overnight if they believe Richard Allen is the one, because a couple days after it happened, he called in and said, I was there, but for whatever reason, there was no follow-up and they cleared him. So, I mean, beards can grow. Like Nima's beard is always the same. I don't know what that is. I don't know. I don't know how he does that. I don't know if it's a filter on the camera or something, but it's always perfect. But other people's, their beards grow and shrink.
But well, as distinct his beard is, it just seems that if somebody were to describe him, one of the first things even with remembering this case, I was like, oh, the beard case. So that's a very distinct feature. That's a very distinct thing. If I could see blood and mud, then I could see beard. So
she's got a point. If you're looking that much to, it's hard to say though, because people driving down the street, you know what I mean? Like, if you're driving down the street, you may notice some things, you may not notice. I mean, I don't know. Her testimony to me is just.
Yeah, and I don't think I would. I mean, I don't know how fast she was driving when she passed him, but I might, glance over and say, hey, there's somebody walking down the road. But I mean, unless I was just crawling at a snail's pace driving, I wouldn't be able to tell you what they were wearing or if they were muddy or bloody, unless it was just, drenched in blood like Carrie, the movie Carrie kind of thing. So
Right.
that's just, it's weird to me.
I mean, at one point, didn't she say she was the guy was like 3 feet from her door? Didn't she say that, something like that? Necessarily evil. I think she said like at one point he was like 3 feet away from her car. So I'm like, well, if
Yeah.
he's 3 feet away from your car, you probably hit the guy. If you're looking,
Well,
if you're
if I
looking,
remember right, the story by her just doesn't make much sense. Why would he be on the separate side of the actual highway
Yeah,
or
it's-
whatever the hell you call it? It just doesn't
Exactly.
trying to be nice, but her statements are just, I don't know. I don't even know why they put her up there, to be honest with you. They were better off without her. That's what I'm saying. I don't think the prosecution helped themselves with some of the things that they did in this case. But I guess you gotta put them up there, right? They're witnesses. If I was the prosecution, though, I would have said, "Hey, do you notice the guy sitting here in the court?" Right? It's
Yeah.
50-50. It's 50-50
Agreed.
at that point. You're either going to get a yes or a no. But at least if you get a yes, it cements your case. I can't believe they didn't do that. Maybe they knew. I don't know. That's
So
just weird.
So they didn't even ask any of the witnesses, because I'll just go by. I know TV shows aren't reality, but you see on the TV shows, the person saw whatever they point out. They didn't even do it
Not one of
for
the
the witnesses for the Allen for his trial.
Not one of the witnesses. They didn't even bother. And the defense is not going to do it. The defense isn't going to say, "Do you see the guy?" They're not going to.
Yeah.
It's up to the prosecution. I would have at least asked,
Exactly.
the younger witnesses, you see the guy sitting here in the court. Can you point him out in the court?
Exactly.
But I don't know. It's just weird how they didn't do that, and they might have a good reason for doing it, but I don't know. That would have been the first thing I would have done, because that cements their case, right? If somebody says yes, then it's over. It's let's go home.
Yeah.
And like I said, the defense is not going to do it. They're not going to say, that's like sticking their foot in their mouth. What if they say yes? So the defense isn't going to do it. But I think the prosecution should have at least, I don't know, asked.
I think that's going to be an issue. And then
Yeah.
the question of the phone, why were you recording at that time? Like, what were you doing at that time? So unless they set proper foundations to really confirm the veracity or the, just how sure.
The other thing that's really weird, I don't know if you've noticed this, necessarily evil, but there was a lot more people around that crime scene than originally thought, because we thought from the beginning that flannel shirt guy, right, McCain, he was there after 3.
It might have been sooner than that, but yeah, around there.
But I mean, did we know that? Because I remember, the only thing I remember about McCain is Derek German getting there and seeing him and asking him if he saw. You okay, Don?
Choking?
You're not choking to death, are you?
Don't die. It's not healthy.
Don't tell her. I hope she's okay. Anyways, back to my point. That's what I know. He was out there on the trails, but I thought he had gotten there right when, or pretty close to when Derek German got there.
Not really, because I think Derek German got there after 3 o'clock, or around there, if I remember correctly, because that's when Libby and them was told that he would be calling, and I don't know. It just isn't like water crime, and you can put all kinds of stuff in there to make it a not so hard thing to adjust to, but I don't think you're going to find much answers, because especially all the evidence is just in the water and just floating away as we speak.
Are you okay?
Who, me?
Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
I had coffee and StreamYard crapped out on me for a second, so I had to get back into the studio. I'm fine.
thought you-
Everything's good.
I thought you were choking. I was going to drive to Arkansas in about 10 minutes.
No, I almost choked. My water almost went down the wrong way, but I'm good.
All right.
Thank you. Yes, Heather, I'm fine. Yes, it went down the wrong pipe.
Yes, man.
And then there's Shelby and all the other girls that were out there. It just seems like there was a lot more people around the crime scene than I originally thought, because I don't see how. I mean, if you can see, like I'm saying, if you can see the van from where they were unalived, right?
Right.
How can you not see them from the bridge?
Well, because
I mean,
remember, the Weber's is on a specific side as the same side as the bridge is on, so it would have been a lot harder to see whatever's going to a house or whatever.
Right, but
it's
if
from
you're
the
at the
bridge itself.
if you're at the end of the bridge, like say you're at the
Right.
you're at the end where they were told to go down the hill,
Mhm.
if you can see the van from where they were unalived, you should be able to see pretty good where they
Yeah.
were unalived from the height of the bridge,
Yeah,
or at
that's
least
another
see
thing I
something
didn't
gone
get.
on.
Yeah,
That whole van
nobody-
thing doesn't make any sense to me. It just doesn't.
Mm-mm.
But
Or were
doesn't
they
happen.
targeted or selected, or they
Right.
just victims by chance? You know, there's a bunch of things in this case that's left unsolved.
Or the witnesses are, I would need that information.
Kirk Nermy, let's get right to what Eklund's talking about, because Betsy Blair described the bridge guy. And they had an artist draw a picture that looks like Justin Timberlake.
And the funny thing about Betsy Blair is she's the one that went to police in 2019. I believe it was her anyways, and said they got the wrong sketch. That the sketch that the guy that she saw looked nothing like the sketch that they were running at the time, which was, the older guy's sketch. So she literally went to them and said, "You guys got to change it because that's not who I saw." That's why they had that whole press conference, was to get out this sketch right here, this younger guy, which I'm pretty sure everybody fell off their seats when they saw the different image, because wasn't it somebody in the Patty family that said, now we got to take down all of the other posters that we put up for 2 years and I mean, it's bizarre. Like, this guy looks nothing like the other guy. In my opinion, it's nothing like him. So who did she see? Like, it's just,
I just think it's bad witness testimony. That's all.
yeah, I mean, it could be, but when you're talking in front of a jury and you just, I don't know, it's just weird. Farm signals get. Well, we're glad Southern Gal's all right. Southern Gal's awesome.
What are your thoughts here? This white male, age 20, brown curly hair, medium build. This is Betsy Blair. This is one of the witnesses.
Brown curly hair. And then one of the witnesses says he didn't have blue eyes. I remember that too. That goes all
I
the
don't
way
know
back.
if the witnesses said it, but I know for a fact that it was said on the news multiple times.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Artist created image out of the man, but the sketch was not released to the public until year 2019. That's when we first saw this guy at the infamous press conference in 2019.
This is who's walking on the bridge and sees the bridge guy, and that's the bridge. That's not Richard Allen.
No, and what we're seeing here, you mentioned in the open there about 5 years to solve this case, and this is one of the reasons probably for that, because we have this correlation. I disagree with Eklund. I think when we have bridge guy and the victims in this case in proximity around the time that
My opinion, this video is useless. It's always been fairly useless. You really can't tell who this is facially. This guy's obviously wearing way too much clothing for being out there. I mean, the only thing I could tell from this video here, and actually from the still image, that this guy isn't 6 feet tall. I could tell that from the beginning, but other than that, This guy's face changes so many times in this 1 second video here. It's hard to really get facial features. Sometimes he looks like he's got a beard. That might be a beard there. And sometimes that just moves. It's so weird.
Her phone stops moving. We
Right?
certainly have a
I mean, if you back that up, this looks like a beard here, but then it separates from his face. It's so weird. Like,
correlation between the girls and Bridge Guy. And then if we combine that with the bullet found near the scene that's tied to Mr. Allen, we know that there's further correlation to him. But that's what some of the things that make this not such a tight case and why it took 5 years is gives the defense opening, because it's circumstantial. And Bridge Guy, as you said, is not Richard Allen. So, and I'm sure we heard the defense probably, well, we didn't get to hear the defense, but the defense probably pointed that out several times, that this guy does not fit the description of Mr. Allen.
Yeah.
So
But
that's why the
unfortunately,
timeframe isn't so tight.
Yeah, the judge didn't allow the sketches in, but only the descriptions by the people who described.
I don't know how long you've been following this, Southern Gal, but I've heard everything from Santa Claus to, I mean, there were some people saying it was McCain in that image. I heard Keegan Dunker. My God, there's everybody had a different idea of who that was in that video. I have people telling me that was Keegan Kline. There's no way that's Keegan Kline. There's just no way. Oh. It's just so weird.
To the artist. So Nima, by the way, this next sketch, this beard more closely resembles yours, because this is from the Muddy and Bloody witness, Sarah Carbaugh. This is
the person that she saw. And in my opinion, this looks a little bit more like Richard Allen than the other guy, right? Does that make sense? Oh, Dawn's not here again. Are you back, Dawn?
I'm back now.
Okay. Hey, FarQ, how are you? Good to see you. I think this guy looks more like Richard Allen than the other guy. That's just me. How about you, Necessarily Evil?
Yeah, I think I honestly believe that Doug Carter had a point a long time ago when he said if you take the two sketches and slam them together, basically you'll have an idea of what Bridge Guy looks like. I've seen a bunch of people do that.
Yeah, but all I'm saying is this guy here, that Sarah Carbaugh is, saying that she saw this sketch here is completely different from the other guy. So I don't know how you take her sketch. I mean, maybe it's possible.
Well, honestly, I've heard so many different things from the whole Sarah Carbaugh thing, and it all depends on who you're talking to. If it's a pro-defense side, they said that her testimony was horribly flawed and all this other stuff. But if it's pro-state, everybody's saying that she did a good job. So I don't know. I'd have to wait and see about the entire testimony, but I don't know. I don't take her sketch or whatever any time better than the ones of the people actually walking around and taking their time to look up what they're looking at.
I think it's going to be a travesty if they don't release the transcripts in this case, because it's, I mean, and I don't want, I'm not the type of person that's going to sit up in here and say, I want the murder scene and pictures and all. I just want to see the transcripts of what was said, because that's the thing. You can't go by what people say, because it depends on what site you go to, right? And I don't mind opinions, and I know, well, that's all right, Southern Gal. But I mean, you get two different, like just with the box cutter thing. I heard that the medical examiner couldn't tell what it was. Then I heard people say, no, he definitely said it was a box cutter. So I don't know what to tell you.
A hook knife, a ceremonial dagger. I think I've heard 3 different knives at least, including the box cutter.
I mean, that's why I hope, I'm just hoping that at the end of this,
Yeah.
case, they release some of the transcripts because, it just looks bad if they don't.
What she described when she sat down with the artist, and that looks nothing like number two, but arguably a little bit closer to Richard Allen. And this was the man who was seen walking on 300 North. What do you think about establishing that Richard Allen is Bridge Guy and Bridge Guy is the killer?
Well, that's the only way the defense can really defend this case, say that Allen is neither Bridge Guy, or he is, but Bridge Guy didn't kill Abby and Libby. And we've talked a lot about how eyewitness identification is not accurate, but what is accurate is that Snapchat video. And there's a reason that law enforcement released it, and we spent years on this show talking about that video and down the hill and trying to say, is Allen's voice the voice of the person in the video? Is that individual wearing the jeans and the blue jacket, is that Richard Allen? So I would set these sketches aside and focus on the video.
I mean, I can't be sure, but I'm pretty sure that's what the jury wanted to see with the video thing. I think they're really trying to get a good look at what the guy looks like.
Yeah. I think they're going to compare things like the leg length or what it seems to be, the arm length and what it seems to be, the outfit, how is he dressed, the gait, all kinds of different little things that Carter said to pay attention to when he first showed everybody the sketch. Don't worry about the face and all those other things. Just basically,
Right, and he was smart doing that.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly the kind of experiment I'm about to try to pull in a couple of days. Even I have a feeling since I was able to find his height that I can find all of his measurements. And I think it's going to be hard to prove it's not Richard Allen when just about everything in the picture measures up to the exact same.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it speaks for itself. The video speaks for itself, but when you're going by beyond reasonable doubt or whatever that is, okay, good. Sorry, Southern Gal.
No, it's fine. It's my fault. My signal is crap tonight.
All I'm saying is if you're going by reasonable doubt, right? Reasonable doubt is speculation. Is what it is. People speculate. Reasonable doubt is all the time, and if you can't make out who that is in the video, then, in my opinion, that's reasonable doubt.
But personally, I mean, I've seen many pictures of Richard Allen and whatnot. It seemed to look like everything was pretty darn close to what we saw Richard Allen doing something, and then whatever Bridge Guy was doing.
But I guarantee you, and I said this early on in the case. I said this maybe the first couple of weeks. I think it was when they first interviewed Mike Patty. If you put the same clothes on Mike Patty, he's going to look exactly the same as the Bridge Guy. Because Mike Patty's fairly short too. Mike Patty, I think, is like 5'5". So that's what I'm saying. The height to me is the problem because.
What they do? Remove y'all's kneecaps or something? Jeez.
I mean, one of the witnesses said she came up to her shoulder. She's got to be really short. But I'm telling you right now, if you look at Mike Patty and you put clothes on him, he looks just like the Bridge Guy. I know it's not him. I'm not saying it's him, but everybody in that town looks exactly the same. It's so weird.
Kind of. Yeah. Yeah, but it all depends on how many men
Two people dressed the same.
Yeah, they're just the same. I mean, who doesn't wear a denim jacket and blue jeans? That's. But I think that one witness that said he was wearing all black with black boots, I think that might have been Ron Logan. Just kidding. I don't want to bring that up.
Eyewitness testimony may not be the most accurate, but that video doesn't lie.
Yeah, as we put the sketch next to Nemo, I was like, if we put one of those little, old time newsy hats on him, like it could be him. So I just want to do this, Eklund. We have like 30 seconds after I laid this out. But that witness, the muddy and bloody witness, you have a problem with. There are some problems. She said there was mud all over, blood spatter on the lower pants only. She contacted police 3 weeks later because she was freaked.
This thing right here is just, this is what really got me on about her. Like this, if you read this, none of this stuff makes any sense. It's so fucked up. Oh.
Freaked out by what she saw. The defense points out that Carbaugh said mud 11 times in her first interview with law enforcement, but never said blood. And the defense points out in a second interview, she said mud 13 times, but never said blood. And then got argumentative.
I still think it's possible that somebody went back to the crime scene and did something to it. I do.
Sure.
I mean, I've never wavered from that. Because at the very beginning, I thought this was a lone wolf. I just did. I don't think anybody else,
Agreed.
But, because I never once thought that Keegan Klein had anything to do with this. But,
No.
I've always stood by, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody like Ron Logan might have heard something out there today and about whether or not that the kids were missing and stuff. He might have gone back out to the crime scene, or he might have gone out to look around.
I don't think he said them to. He was tracking down his son at the moment in time that had also escaped.
Yeah, I mean,
I think, yeah.
And he could have done something with sticks. He could have done something with, to hide them from. I mean, they were on his property. Who are they gonna? He's going to be the first suspect, right?
So do you think that if she's talking about blood at the trial, but not talking about blood in the first two interviews, that's a big problem?
Absolutely. Because of the 3 weeks. Already the testimony is bad because it's been 3 weeks. And then now you want to add the added caveat, which is I had blood one time, the second. The word blood is very important. And I think that really kind of discredits that witness.
Yeah.
I think because there's so many things going on.
And really what's happening in here, in the way they're trying this case, is they're saying A equals B, right? B equals C, therefore A equals C. And that's it, if they can get to the A equals C. Because there's,
like I said, I've covered a lot of cases, man. It seems like all I do in my spare time is listen to trials, and I've seen people get convicted for less, and I've seen people walk on more. You don't know what a jury's going to do. And my personal opinion, I think the fact that they're taking long is not good for Richard Allen. That's just my opinion. But because I think what they're trying to do is get the two or the one or two jurors that are not on board with a guilty plea, get them to switch their viewpoint to get unanimous guilty. But I just don't know if that's going to happen. But we'll see. I don't know. We don't know. What do you think? All right. Want to make some 7-layer salad. I'm craving so badly. Cool. All right, so I want to get into, that's the end of the Delphi shit. I'll keep covering this. Everybody will keep covering this if there's a verdict. But I do want to go to some other stuff here. You can stay up here if you want, necessarily, Evo. You don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go over some of the other stuff that I've been hoping to cover tonight.
Cool.
Let's see here. I do want to cover this case here really quick. This is the I think I think that Southern Gale covered this a little bit last night. This is the Susan Clark Simpson case. I don't know if people know about this, but she went missing. It's another one of those domestic cases here. And this is the press conference. They finally arrested, they've arrested the husband, but on gun charges. But now they've arrested him for the unaliving of this. They haven't found her yet. But here's, let me lower this here. This is the press conference here.
Public Safety, FBI Assistant Special Agent in Charge, Edward Pagoda, Bexar County District Attorney Joe Gonzalez, and Assistant Bexar County District Attorney Millie Powers and Casey Sandoval. So I will turn it over to the chief.
Good afternoon. Yesterday, the Alamos Park Police Department, along with the Texas Rangers, have charged Brad Chandler Simpson with murder in the death of his wife, Suzanne Clark Simpson. We realize that this doesn't bring closure to Suzanne's family, but we hope it will allow them to enter the next phase of their grieving process with more clarity. We'd like to thank Suzanne's family for their support and strength throughout this investigation. They are asking for respect of their privacy, especially for the minor children. There are also many agencies that have helped us in this investigation, and we offer them our sincerest gratitude. This thorough and tireless investigation has been conducted in efforts to find justice for Suzanne and her family. We want to recognize the Bexar County District Attorney Joe Gonzalez at his office for their advice and support with the.
Is Dean still in here? Or did his phone run out?
Complexities of this investigation. Not the prosecution phase of this case. We also want to.
Dean, where are you? I don't see him in the
public
chat.
safety and the
Did you block him again?
No, I didn't block him again. I'm in StreamYard. It's so much harder to block people in StreamYard than it is to be on the actual.
True.
Yeah.
True.
But
Can't
yeah, I
really do
haven't
anything in
seen.
StreamYard.
I'm going through the list. I'm not seeing any comments or anything from him for quite some time. So I'm guessing he either left or maybe somebody blocked him. I don't know.
Texas Rangers who have worked
He's
tirelessly.
playing me this time.
Thank you very much, along with all the support.
Maybe it was one of those comments about his OnlyFans thing.
Shame.
Citizens that we've had. We'd like to thank the family and the public, and we want them to know that the search for Suzanne is still ongoing. The Simpson family provided us with this message today to read. So I'll introduce Mr. Clark Simpson.
Thank you, Chief. It's always important to do what is right, and especially when it is most difficult. This situation is heartbreaking for us. It brings some peace to our family, knowing that the
Yeah, definitely none of those. None of those, what Southern Gal had said. Hey, Farq, how are you? Good to see you.
authorities have gathered enough evidence to move forward with charges. This helps us come to terms with the reality that Suzanne is no longer with us, allowing us to continue the difficult process of grieving and focus on rebuilding our lives for the sake of the children and our extended family. We remain deeply appreciative of the Alamos Park Police Department, the Texas Rangers, Texas DPS, and all assisting law enforcement agencies involved in their dedication and determination to help us find Suzanne. We're also incredibly grateful for the support of of our amazing, loving community. And for everyone who has reached out, supported us.
I think it's time for Barbara Hall to get a channel too. I want to thank everybody for coming in for sure. Appreciate it.
And kept us in their prayers. It's our sincere hope and prayer that Brad will find the compassion and courage to end his family's suffering by cooperating with the authorities to help us find his life. Thank you very much.
I'm gonna play a little bit more of this, and then because this is long, I'm gonna go on to the Kansas mom unaliving stuff there, the autopsy.
We'll have Lieutenant Ruiz from the Almost Park Police Department reiterate some of this in Spanish, please.
Hola. Ayer junto con los Texas Rangers.
Phil in Southeast Bexar County, they had hoped to find remains. The chief spoke a few times and in messages to the city of Olmos Park about bringing closure to this incident. And that's usually not the language you use when you're discussing a potential search for a missing person, rather a search.
So this is the last, this image right here is the last image they have of her, I think.
For remains and physical evidence of a crime taking place.
Yeah, and this yesterday, what you were out here witnessing all of this. Talk about what took place in this video yesterday.
So we were told that investigators were in the process of getting a murder warrant signed to arrest Brad Simpson, and that they were going to get.
You can tell them behind the times. I didn't know she had a channel. Sorry. So it's right there. She does have a channel. I'm going to have to sub to that as soon as I get out of here because I don't think I can do it now.
Yeah, me too. I'll check it out.
That's the channel right there. I'll definitely sub to Barbara's channel. She's awesome. Necessarily Evil's got a channel too. It's in here somewhere.
Yeah, it's somewhere in here. I'm not
Southern
sure.
Gal's I'm the same way. I get like a careless, but
yeah, I go on everybody else's. I basically go on everybody else's channels and just do lives and stuff with them. So it's just easier that way.
Are you still with Curious Contrarian?
Oh yeah, I still do lives and stuff with Dan. Just did one 11 hours last night.
Oh shit.
Yeah, it was nuts. But we had Sleuth Intuition on there. We had Cryptex on there. I forgot. We had like 10 people on there all together throughout the whole 11 hours.
Cryptex is awesome too. Cryptex is
Heck
great.
Yeah. Yep.
Because I see you all over the place. I see you on a lot of channels.
Oh yeah, I like to show up and
one more chance to
pro defense and make jokes and try to make them think that I'm on the opposite side, and then I go to pro state and make them think the exact opposite, and it usually pisses people like Dean off. So.
I did that early, and then I kind of took a break from Delphi for a little while because it was getting really crazy. You had people going after each other and wanting to kill each other, and then I got back into it again, and then now people still want to kill each other. It's just so weird.
Exactly.
Oh, there's nothing to be nervous about, Barbara. If I can do this, anybody can do this. This is the.
Oh yeah, you just get up here and just talk or whatever. It's no problem.
You're gonna do. It's not like we're professionals, right?
Yeah.
Crime, and that required DPS, Olmos Park Police, and a member of the Bexar County Sheriff's Office Fugitive Apprehension Unit. They actually removed Simpson from the jail, left about 1:15 in the afternoon, went to a DPS station, and then less than 2 hours later, the same convoy returned with Simpson. He was taken into the Sally Port, which is the start of the secure facility at the south end of the jail, and within a couple of minutes of them arriving back at the jail, he was officially charged with murder, and those records, the record of his arrest, was posted publicly.
As we keep talking about these latest developments, I want to talk to our live stream producer, Landon, really quickly. If you hear questions being asked and we need to dip back into that press conference to gather some of that information, I want to make sure that we do that. So just keep me, okay, they are asking questions now. All right, let's go back to the Almost Park Police Department, where DPS now is taking some
Hey, shut up.
questions from reporters.
What kind of information did the public come forward with about your investigation? I don't have that either. I do know that some people had reached out to the Almost Park PD and to the Rangers with some information, but I don't have any specific information from the public.
You know, several people in our newsroom got several text messages.
Get to.
Go ahead.
Is there any possible negative? Sorry?
Has Brad Simpson had contact with his children?
Not that I know of.
So I know we got several texts earlier this week asking for our emails, knowing that something was coming this Thursday, and Brad Simpson was charged with murder on Thursday. Did you guys know that you were going to charge him with murder when, you know, we were getting that heads up that we were going to get information on Tuesday?
So I got that information just like everybody else. I think when they came up with enough evidence and information to take it to the DA's office, they did so this week, and that's why we're meeting today.
This case here is very similar. This is interesting to me because this case to me is very similar to the Susan Morphew case, and they haven't arrested the husband yet. This is the difference between police departments, I think. I don't understand why they haven't arrested that prick yet, but who knows? Maybe he didn't do it. I don't know. All right, so let's get out of this one here. I want to go. They got him. That'll never go to. There'll be years before this goes to court. I don't know. Maybe he'll get a plea deal or something like that to get the body. That's how it usually works in these cases. They wait and wait and wait until there's a plea deal, and then they find the body, and then he gets out in 25 years. That's usually, unfortunately, how that stuff goes. Hold on a second here. All right, so. Oh, you're welcome, Barbara. All right, so this is the Kansas City mom case here. This is the autopsy, and this is going to be a little graphic. So everybody remembers this case. Their bodies went missing out in Oklahoma. Actually, I think across the border, right? And
I think it is.
The Kansas. I think it was Oklahoma. They left Kansas and they went to Oklahoma, and they were found in Oklahoma somewhere. Well, the car was found, and then they were found later.
Oh, are you talking about the ones that went to go pick up some kids or whatever?
Yeah,
and when they got there, they were shot by the family member. Oh, okay, I got you. I know what you're talking about.
This is the this is the autopsy here, so it's going to be a little graphic here.
Scholar at Jackson State University, and the best person I can think of to walk me through this. I pick up a report like this and I read through it, and I usually it's very clinical, but this one wasn't, Joe. Like this one, I felt like I was out there on that dusty road in the Panhandle, and I felt like I could almost see it happening just by the way the injuries were coming in at Jillian. So can you walk me through how you saw it and what you envisioned playing out based on these injuries?
Yeah, this is a fantastic example of the dead telling their own tale. I think one of the things that really strikes me here, Ash, is they keep talking about the soiled clothing. And one of the things that we think about relative to soiled clothing is that the surfaces of the clothing have to be in contact with something in order to be soiled. So what I mean by that is that when you particularly talk about Jillian's body here, when you think about her remains, she would be face down in a prone position so that someone could access her in order to traumatize her in the way that she was traumatized. She's got extensive injuries to the back of her neck, to her shoulders, which you've talked about, and even to her face. But how did they get her to that position? How was she placed there? How did she get there? When she was removed, perhaps, from the vehicle, and this is merely me speculating, we have this evidence of these injuries to her hands, which both have been ruled as incised wounds, consistent.
Such a horrible case. These poor women, they went to, do this, especially this woman here. I think it was the, what they call a chaperone here. She went along with this, this mother just to get brutally unalived. Like, this is awful.
With defensive wounds. So if we think about a knife where somebody is doing this action or presenting with it, the individual would reach up and grab the blade and it would be drugged through their hand. and this would incise the surface. And this is.
Did Dean take off? I mean, Necessarily Evil take off, Charles? Thanks for coming up, buddy. Appreciate it. Necessarily Evil's awesome. He's an awesome guy. It just goes to show you the people that have different opinions, don't always agree with each other, can have a conversation, right? It's, I'm pretty sure everybody just wants, the people who do these crimes to go to jail or for the rest of their life. It's all about the victims' families. It's that's what it's all about to me, anyways. So I'm pretty sure that's what everybody wants.
This isn't superficial. This is not a paper cut. We're talking about it goes down to the tendon and the bone and through the muscle.
Okay, so this is Veronica Butler here. This is the one that had the children. And I think the people who unalived these two, the victims, her husband's or her boyfriend's family that are suspected of brutally unaliving these two because they didn't want her to have they didn't want her to have the children. So
prior to that, it would have been very painful. And so my thought is, was she attempting to fight back at this moment in time when she realized what was going on? And then one of two things happened, in my estimation. She was either marched out to the gravesite at that point in time, or when they fell upon her, this kind of an old term about being attacked, fell upon her once she had been cut like this, they had to stun her. That's where you get these marks for the stun gun on the back of the neck.
Can I ask you about that? Can I ask you, because as I was reading this, they said the decomposition was so much so that it was hard to tell if it was stun gun marks or if it was like, liver that had developed all over the body. But they assumed because of the pattern that it was stun gun marks. But it looked to be somewhere between 6 and 8 stun gun marks.
Yeah.
I mean, did I read wrong? Because that to me sounds like torture.
You're absolutely on target. And if people have never seen a stun gun, it has posts on it, these stainless steel posts. And when they contact the skin, it sends a current through the body. And again, you kind of freeze into this position. There's nothing you can do to defend yourself. And when you get this many, Ash, you get this many of these marks on the body, that borders on the area. It doesn't border. It actually crosses over into the area of torture at this point in time, where she's getting popped over and over and over and over again like this until they get her to submit. And keep in mind, these injuries that she has on her back, and right you were when you said that they don't extend very much further south of her neck. This is a very concentrated area like this. That means that somebody's physically on top of her, hammering away with this knife. Got to the point where if people will...
Like I said, this is going to be triggering. Yeah, these poor, especially, I mean, I'm not going to say especially, but I think this woman here, she just kind of went along to be the chaperone to, that's how they do things. And this was a violent crime here.
Will just touch the back of their neck, right at the base of your skull. That blade entered her skull right there and clipped the brain stem where it controls our autonomic nervous system. So she couldn't have been able to breathe. Her heart would have stopped functioning.
Or move, they said. And God, I hope it was fast.
Me too.
Not fast enough. It will never have been fast enough. So, Joe, I'm going to call you back when they release Veronica Butler's, because my fear is that this is Jillian Kelly. She wasn't even the intended target. There's no animosity to her necessarily, but the target, Grandma Tiffany, if she's the killer, hated this former partner.
You think?
Daughter-in-law. And I am so upset at what the possibilities are for the way she died.
I think Jillian was trying to protect Miss Butler is what I think happened.
Wow. Okay. I hadn't thought of that.
Ferociously.
I thought maybe she.
Yeah, there was some sort of a dispute. What do you call it? Not a dispute, but a injunctive order to with the kids. And she was just going as a chaperone to chaperone the I think it was a pickup or a drop off or a pickup or something like that of the kids there. And they found the car, but they didn't find the victims. Then we waited for months and months and months, and finally they found them, and they arrested the perpetrators.
You watched it happen and knew it was coming and fought like hell. Either could be true, but I thank you for your, thank you for reading through it and then helping us out through it, Joe.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find new.
Sorry, I just wanted to play that because I don't want people to forget about this case. This is just a horrible, just a horrible, horrible, horrible case. They'll be going to court soon. I think there's like 6 people that they arrested in this. Might be more, not sure. All right, let's go to this other piece of dog shit here. Let's see here. This guy here. So they've searched this guy's house. So I don't know if people remember this. This is the case of Micah Miller. She unalived herself back in the spring. I think it was last April or so. And everybody on the planet thought that this guy, her husband, the pastor here, was a little shady. So John Paul Miller, a Southern Carolina pastor who's been under scrutiny since his young wife unalived herself. He was arrested in Myrtle Beach. The arrest comes just days after the FBI agents showed up at the Miller home with a search warrant. So who knows what they were searching for. Because from everybody's take on this, they pretty much eliminated him as a suspect because they called this a voluntary unaliving. So who knows what they could be doing. But let's take a look at this here.
In his arrest, already under intense scrutiny for the death of his wife Micah, and after his home was searched by the FBI, Miller now has to face charges for this separate incident. We're going to explore this latest update and everything we know about the death of 30-year-old Micah Miller. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law.
No, not without who would do that, right? It's weird.
Crime. I'm Jesse Weber.
This is the case. This case here gets to me because this case here, in my opinion, could have been averted. This is such a sad case. This poor woman here.
The Micah Miller story has gained widespread national attention. And this is after her husband, John Paul Miller, a pastor at Solid Rock Church in South Carolina, announced at the end of an April sermon that his wife had passed away. It was strange.
This guy here is an asshole. He just is.
It was really, really strange. He said that his wife died by her own hand in a state park in North Carolina. And since that announcement, public suspicion of Miller's alleged involvement in what happened to his wife, it is heightened because now we have protesters reportedly lining up outside of that church every Sunday calling for his arrest. Public supporters calling for justice for Micah accuse John Paul Miller of abusing his wife and even pushing her to take her own life, though he has denied this. And by the way, to be clear, on the day of Micah's death, he was purportedly in Charleston, hundreds of miles away. Also talking about the day of Micah's death, Micah Miller was captured on surveillance video purchasing a gun at a pawn shop before driving to Lumber River State Park, which is just over the state line in North Carolina. She called 911 telling them what she was planning to do. And even though dispatchers tried to convince her otherwise, they sadly could not talk her out of the tragic decision. And autopsy results confirmed that she died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Now, at the time of her death, Micah and John Paul were in the midst of a divorce, which, according to her family, she was hopeful about. Her sister had alleged that Micah had been in fear for her life. And eerily, Micah allegedly told her, quote, "If I end up with a bullet in my head, it was not by me, it was JP." Micah's family also said that she kept a journal where she allegedly wrote of being a victim of abusive, coercive control. On March 22nd, this is about a month before her death, Micah even posted this video on Facebook offering advice to anyone who may be or have been in an abusive relationship.
God hates divorce, But why? According to everybody I've asked and the scriptures that I've found, it's because it hurts people. But does abuse hurt people? How do you think God feels about that? So I want to remind you, like a bunch of people have been reminding me lately, that I'm God's bride first.
By the way, as you may know, we have been actively following the Micah Miller story for a while here on Sidebar. We've been trying to stay up to date on any new developments. And one of the reasons that we're able to continue to do that kind of work is not only because of you guys, and we can't thank you enough for your support, but also because of our sponsors and the work they do with us. And I have to call out one in particular right now, Upside. Upside's awesome. Upside is a free app, so easy to use, that helps you get cash back when you buy food, gas, and groceries. Real money, real cash back, money that appears in your Upside app that you can transfer straight into your bank account. Here, you can see I used Upside to find a gas station. I claimed an offer, pay with my credit card at the pump, followed the steps on the app. Guess what? I got cash to control her thoughts. We actually spoke with Micah's family in a previous episode of Sidebar where they addressed these mental health claims.
So before Micah married John Paul.
Yeah, just like that, just like the Ellen Greenberg thing. That's so weird. Like, so some people do really weird things, but 21 times, right? 21. That just seems bizarre.
Paul, she had no signs, no history, no indications of mental illness at all.
And why did she presumably?
No, this is the family here. This is the father here. He's, a great guy.
Agree to a power of attorney. Usually the person who sets up would have to agree to it and sign to it.
He had every way to control her, and he was very good at manipulating the situation.
And she thought that he would be doing the right thing. And she wanted to trust that Mr. Miller Jr. was actually doing the right thing for them until she got away from him and had more time when she spent more time with us to peel off some of those layers and realize what was going on. And then she started becoming herself again and got a job and everything else. And
I think that's one of the laws that really need to be changed. And I know it comes down to, medical examiners and stuff like that. But the fact that they cremated her right after the unaliving, and I know that it's up to the husband what he wants to do, but they should change that. If there's hey, Charlotte, how are you? Good to see you. If there's any question whatsoever, they should hold off on that until they have a complete toxicology report, until they have a complete, especially these days with medical advancements and, forensic advancements. I think that should be definitely changed. That law should definitely be changed, especially if there's questions. Because once there's a cremation, it's over. You can't really do anything.
Doing fine and was happy-go-lucky self again, excited about the future, and which is something he did not like.
Now, to be very, very clear here, John Paul Miller has never been criminally charged in connection to Micah's death. But now, as tensions continue to rise,
you're wondering why, you're wondering what they were looking for.
And as we previously reported, his house was searched by the FBI. The pastor finds himself behind bars right now. Why? Over an alleged confrontation with a protester. So according to police records, the 45-year-old was charged with third-degree assault and battery stemming from an incident outside of his church on Wednesday. And although police have not provided official details of what happened, a portion of that confrontation was captured on a witness's cell phone.
Always good to see Charlotte in here. Charlotte's an awesome person. Yes, pictures are worth 1,000 words for sure. Charlotte's awesome. Farku's awesome. Necessarily Evil. Thanks for coming up. I appreciate it.
Phone.
Yeah, there's been so many protesters outside this guy's house, and this person here went to confront him, and I guess he attacked her for some reason.
Uh-oh, y'all. What's going on?
And a woman can be seen chasing Miller in a parking lot, seemingly harassing him, and she is believed to be a Justice for Micah protester. That woman, identified as Sandra Karen, can be heard yelling at Miller, who turns back to confront her, and Karen told a local affiliate that Miller had squared up to her and tapped her on her hat with his phone. So what prompted this confrontation? Well, Miller was reportedly driving by the church property when he saw groups of people gathered there, prompting him to return to the scene and approach them. And after that alleged physical contact, he faces this misdemeanor charge, which by law could result in a fine and up to 30 days behind bars. He's been released on a $776 bond. He's expected back in court December 10th. But this heated exchange comes just a day.
Because I think at the least, I think this guy might have been messing with her meds somehow to get her into the position more of thinking about unaliving herself. You hear about these things all the time.
After Sandra Karen said that she heard rumors the church was being emptied of its contents, possibly in relation to that FBI search of Miller's home that I mentioned about from last week. So to talk more about this, I want to bring on attorney Regina Ward, who had been representing Micah in her divorce case against John Paul. We just had her on the program the other day. Did not expect to see you again so soon, Regina, but who would have expected this development? My gosh. So he's arrested on charges of assault and battery. What's your take on this?
Well, yeah, it's assault and battery in a third degree. It's a very minor charge and is a misdemeanor. But the intriguing thing about it that I'm waiting to see unfold is that we just had a law get passed this past summer with regard to bonds. And so if and when he gets charged with the criminal indictment from this issue from the federal magistrate through the FBI's investigative efforts, a pending charge that he's under a criminal bond for at that time will be extremely relevant in whether he will receive a bond or not with regard to a charge in federal district court.
So in other words, just to clarify what you're saying, we shouldn't be surprised, and we talked about this before on a prior sidebar, we shouldn't be surprised if he is hit with charges with respect to the FBI search. And to be clear, the assault and battery is not connected to what the FBI was doing. But you're saying the fact that he has just been arrested and he has been bonded out, that could affect one way or another what may happen to him by the government, the FBI looking into him.
Yes, absolutely. If the case is not disposed of prior to him being indicted and criminally charged through the current investigation, and if that's still a pending criminal charge, even though it is a misdemeanor, it part of what the judge who's setting bond, what they have to do is evaluate a couple of things. One is, if I let this person return to society, are A, they a threat to society, and B, are they a flight risk? Well, Mr. Miller, of course, we know has access to plane and other things, so that's obviously going to be considered. And then the fact that he had a prior criminal charge, even though a misdemeanor, says that that'll come into play as well.
Do you know about first of all, do you know who this alleged victim is, Sandra Karen? Do you know who she is? Do you know about any of the people who are there all people lined up outside the church? Do you know anything about this?
Right. I wasn't present there. I caught a little glimpse of it last night before I, went to bed of something going down, but I don't personally know the victim in the case. I did have an opportunity to review a video of that scene. So
we hope you're well too, Charlotte. It's always good to see Charlotte and hear Charlotte's amazing person.
The thing of it is that Mr. Miller, has more than one attorney, and he has a very good criminal attorney that's got a lot of experience and, is respected in the community. And, as well as I know his history. So I know that his lawyer, beyond a shadow of a doubt, and keep in mind, I'm also a criminal defense attorney too, says to him, do not approach protesters. don't respond to anyone that says anything to you about any of this. Turn and walk away would be the directions that
This guy here, John Paul Miller, is such a spineless piece of dog shit. I just don't like him at all.
I would give him. Why? Because of exactly this. But you have to remember who we're dealing with. It's Mr. Miller. He thinks he's untouchable. He has that sense that he can do whatever. But I tell you what, I think he did and I'm happy that the victim is okay. It was a nonviolent, interaction. But at the same time, it's like I'm fine with him making these mistakes and stumbling around, because they're just going to stack up, and we're going to use everything we can.
But
Nice. That's awesome. All right, let's go back to this one here. I want to show you the arrest, not the arrest, but the search that they did. We did this last week, but let's go here. So he's out on bond after the arrest. I just wonder what they're looking for.
This is WNBF News First at 4. I'm Eric Weisfeld. We do have breaking news this afternoon. FBI agents are searching the home of a Myrtle Beach pastor who has ties to a high-profile suicide that gained national attention. I want to get straight to our Ali Espinosa, who is live on the scene now. Been there for a few hours. What have you learned today, Ali?
Eric, I'm currently standing on Coldwater Circle, and there's a lot of people here lining the streets and several law enforcement vehicles. I'm going to step out of the way so you can see the scene here behind me. FBI spokesperson Kevin Wheeler did confirm they are searching John Paul Miller's home, but at this hour, it's unclear as to why. Miller was married to Micah Miller. Robertson County authorities in North Carolina ruled her death a suicide back in April. Micah's death gained national attention due to allegations surrounding her marriage with John Paul Miller. At that time, he was the pastor of Solid Rock Church in Myrtle Beach. I saw agents take pictures of the house outside, others pulling out evidence bags from a trailer. Neighbors are telling me the FBI has been here at Miller's home since this morning. Miller's neighbor from
If you've seen the video of him crying pathetically, I have it somewhere in my folders here, but they have him crying on the lawn. You can just tell the kind of person that this guy is. He's just a horrible piece of crap, just terrible.
across the street tells me he doesn't know what to make of this.
His wife had just unalived herself, and he's out there flirting with waitresses like a couple of days after. It's just so. This guy is. He deserves everything he's getting.
Oh, I don't know. Geez. I'm so sorry it even happened, to tell you the truth. You know, it's just one of the things that you don't think would ever happen, you know, where you're living.
Now, we have tried to reach out to John Paul Miller himself.
I mean, my whole question with her is if she wanted, she lives like literally right next to the beach. She's right in, Myrtle Beach, which is arguably one of the greatest people in the greatest places in the world. If you want to unalive yourself, why not just go to the beach and do it? I mean, especially at night, nobody's ever going to see you. Why she drove all the way up to Lumberton, North Carolina to do it that's bizarre.
And several other law enforcement agencies, but at this time, it's not clear as to why they're searching his home, and they're not providing any more information on this as of right now. Now, of course, this is still an active scene, so we'll be sure to give you the latest as we learn more. Leavenworth County, Ali Espinosa, WNBF News.
And continuing to do that, Ali. In fact, we first brought you this breaking news straight to your phone through the WNBF News app. It's also where you can check out the full timeline of events in this investigation. Turn on your alerts to get any and all updates just as soon as they come in. We've been following for months, but one that's now taken a new and criminal turn.
Our Ali Espinosa joins us live here in Myrtle Beach. So, Ali, tell us more about the situation that put this man in and eventually took him out of a jail cell.
So I want to go here really quick. Stop that for a second. Because I'm very familiar with this area. We're down here all the time. This is our home, really, home away from home. This is Myrtle Beach. This is like, hold on a second. Let's go here. So this is the Solid Rock Church right here. This is where we go Surfside. This is Myrtle Beach right here. Why not? I mean, if you're going to alive yourself, there's a whole ocean here. She drove. See if I can pull this up here. That's maps. Where was she found? She was found Lumberton River, forget now, Lumber River State Park, I think. Yeah, so she's yeah, she was found up in here. So she's all the way down here. She got all of this beach here, right? If you're going to unalive yourself, why not just walk out into the beach in the middle of the night and do it here? She drives an hour and 15 minutes away up to Lumber River State Park. And she was found in the little river that's down here. So it just, I don't know, it just doesn't make any sense to me. It's just really weird. Not saying it didn't happen. I'm just saying it's bizarre to do that, to go all, maybe she knows this area well. I don't know. Just, bizarre. It's a bizarre thing. Bizarre happens though. Bizarre is weird. Bizarre stuff. All right, let's see how. I did that one already. Let's do this here. So he's out on bond. Let's see how he got on bond.
Eric, Rachel, record show former pastor John Paul Miller posted bond earlier this morning following a fiery on-camera encounter outside of his now defunct Solid Rock Church.
It's not okay. It's not okay. And when a woman sets a clear boundary and says, "You're my personal space,"
this is an awesome hat.
the response isn't to threaten her further. That's not okay.
I'm told Miller's arrest Wednesday all stems from a clip recorded earlier in the day, appearing to show the pastor tapping his phone against the hat of the woman you just heard from.
You're cracking, JP. FBI's coming. We told you.
That woman, Sandra Carone, is one of many protesting against Miller, believing he played a criminal role in his estranged wife's suicide back in April. No matter her thoughts about Miller before Wednesday's incident, Carone tells me
I gotta play that again. Hold on a second. It's fucking classic. The FBI's coming.
he was wrong to escalate the situation and turn it physical.
He's this close to me, and he says, "You called me." And I said, "You're in, okay, but you're in my," and he says, "What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do? What are you going to do?" Twice.
And while Carone admits she came up to Miller, she insists she kept her cool, and it was him that escalated the matter.
I was well within my right to approach him and ask him, "What do you need? Do you need something?" I called him. Yes, I did. "Here, kitty, kitty." And he came back. And he said, "You called me." And I did.
Miller's attorney, on the other hand, tells me his client is nothing more than a victim, maintaining he isn't a criminal and is simply the target of a harassment campaign.
The bigger problem is this group of people won't leave him alone. They
Yeah, that's a good thing.
will not. They're driving. They've driven the church to death, and they're trying to drive him to death. And it's in begging the city for help. They won't do anything for him. He has nowhere to turn. I can sue everybody and serve them with that. That's clearly not going to stop them from doing what they're doing. They're hell-bent on harassing and stalking John Paul Miller. Unfortunately, the only thing that he could probably do is to hide.
Yeah, he should hide. He's just an awful person. I mean, why don't you tell that? I mean, it's just has Myrtle Beach had this happen before? Myrtle Beach is one of the I mean, there's Myrtle Beach, and usually going to find Myrtle Beach is kind of like a spring break type thing, but there's 3 or 4 different beaches there. There's Myrtle Beach, which is the main place where people hang out. Then there's where we go, Surfside Beach. The same thing, same area. The people down there are absolutely wonderful. South Carolina people, especially at the seacoast part, they're just fantastic people. We've never ever had a problem down there with anybody, really. All right, so let's go to this cold case here. Hope everybody's doing well in the chat. Hope everybody's still. Yeah, he's the guy is. He's been grooming women girls for a long time, and this one here just didn't want to take it anymore. And I feel bad for her because she really didn't have any other place to go. She hadn't anything to turn to. She just, it's just a horrible situation, and he's just a piece of shit, just a terrible person. Authorities okay, so this is a cold case here, 5-decade old cold case. Dunn County Sheriff's officials speak about this case. Authorities in Dunn County, Wisconsin say they've arrested and charged a now 84-year-old guy in the unaliving of a Minneapolis woman that occurred in 1974. Yes, that year did exist, 1974. Bell bottoms, really thick glasses. You got it. 1974. Really good music, all of that stuff. So let's play this here.
I'm Sheriff Kevin Bigg to the Dunn County Sheriff's Office. Standing next to me, Investigator Dan Westland and Sergeant Jason Stalker. You'll hear a little bit more about their involvement as I go through my statement here a little bit. On February 15th, 1974, Mary Kay Chaleas was found deceased near the intersection of...
That was a fantastic year. Southern Gal. Southern Gal's awesome. Just an awesome person. Thank you so much, Southern Gal, for coming up. Appreciate it. I hope Arctic Fox is good too. Arctic Fox has got a great channel. He does fantastic work with the missing. Great guy.
708th Avenue and 990th Street in the township of Springbrook, Dunn County. Mary's death at the time was ruled a homicide. The initial investigation revealed that Mary was from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and believed to be hitchhiking from Minneapolis, Minnesota to an art show in Chicago. There was an eyewitness that observed a suspect and suspect vehicle that were believed...
That whole thing, that whole time period, 70s, or especially mid 70s to late 70s, early 70s. I mean, hitchhiking was a thing. And no matter how many times authorities would come out and say, it's probably not a good idea, to hitchhike, and people never listened, but it was a really good way for people to get away with this stuff here. People would never find you again.
To be connected to the homicide of Mary. Over the course of the last several decades, there have been many tips, leads, interviews done related to this homicide by multiple law enforcement agencies, and this case has been worked on by many members of the Dunn County Sheriff's Office. There are also
nothing beats the 70s. 70s is by far my favorite decade. Hottest summer ever. You were melting over there? And so were serial killers. Yeah, it's the age of the serial killer. For sure. Yeah, hitchhiking was a thing. We did hitchhiking all the time. Get on the highway and get to your destination. You don't see hitchhikers as much these days as you did back then.
Several items of evidence have been examined and re-examined over the years as technological advances in DNA were developed. Still,
I used to pick up hitchhikers all the time. That's probably not a good idea these days either.
No viable suspects were identified until recently. In recent years, the Dunn County Sheriff's Office investigators began working with Ramapo College in New Jersey and their team of genetic genealogists. Through investigative genetic genealogy, a viable suspect was identified. Yesterday, Sergeant Jason Stalker and Investigator Dan Westland tracked down that suspect at his apartment in Owatonna, Minnesota, and completed an interview with him. When confronted with the evidence, 84-year-old John K. Miller able to arrest John K. Miller for the homicide of Mary K. Shalias after 50 years. John Miller is in custody in Steele County, Minnesota, awaiting transport to Dunn County after waiving extradition in court there today. Along with Sergeant Jason Stalker and Investigator Dan Westland, I want to thank all the members of this agency that have worked on this case over the past 50 years. Specifically retired Captain Scott McRoberts, who probably had more passion for solving this case than anyone. This is a huge victory for our agency. We are willing to answer a few questions today, but we are planning a more in-depth press conference on Monday at 1 p.m. We'll be here in this room or upstairs in the multi-purpose room, depending on availability. At that time, a representative from Ramapo College will be here to talk about the work they did on this case to assist our agency. However, we cannot get into too much detail about this case to ensure Mr. Miller has a fair trial here in Dunn County. Any questions?
Can you just walk us through that genetic genealogy process, kind of what it entails and how it exactly led you to the suspect?
Thank you, Paula. Thank you for coming in. Paula's awesome. She got a great channel too. It's good to see you, Paula, as always. Hello, Zero Cool. How are you? Good to see you. This was the case I was going to start with from my wicked Wisconsin. It's right down the road from me. Holy hell. Sorry. I hope you're feeling okay, Heather. Heather's awesome. Heather's an awesome person. Let's go back to this.
Well, that would be a better question for a scientist, not a cop. But Investigator Westland can probably answer that much better than I can. He's kind of been in the thick of this. And Dan, do you want to step up and answer a few questions?
Yeah, so to keep it very brief, because next week we will have somebody here that can explain an in-depth process. But essentially what it does is provide us with leads in certain family lineages. We're able to follow those leads, which ultimately led to the arrest.
And regarding the suspect, what was he in the area for? Was he living here? Was he ever on the radar prior to the genetic genealogy?
Some things with the investigation are continuing still to be investigated, so I won't comment on it at this point.
Have you guys spoken to the family of the victim? Have they offered any reaction to the news that this cold case has a suspect now in custody?
Yes, Sergeant Stalker and I both spoke with the family last night.
What did they say?
They were relieved and very thankful for our agency and everybody that's assisted thus far with the investigation.
Was there a piece of DNA that was found that was used in the genetic genealogy, a piece of DNA that was kind of found at the crime scene that kind of matched with him? Or
Again, I think I'll leave Ramapo College representatives to better explain that process.
And what was his demeanor yesterday when you spoke with the suspect? How would you describe the interaction?
It was a conversation, and
I haven't seen Miranda Lee in here lately. I think she's upset with me for covering Delphi. But we miss you, Miranda Lee. And we also miss Jenny 765309, 8675309.
About what had occurred, and it's about all I can comment on.
Did he have a record? Like, was this a guy who's been in prison before and stuff like that?
More details will come out eventually regarding the entirety of the investigation.
In 2017, Sergeant McRoberts talked about there being 2 profiles at the time that you were looking into. Can you extrapolate upon that? Was there another profile that was found at the scene that was not Mary's in addition to this one?
I believe that some of that DNA, I don't recall exactly from 2017, but some of those were eliminated as possibilities.
There were headlines about, that serial killer who played for the Packers at one point.
Yep.
That got eliminated at one point.
That suspect was eliminated.
Okay. And then there were, just reading through all the old articles about it over the years, like that car that this guy was driving had a distinct look to it.
Yep.
Was that ever recovered?
No, it was not recovered.
And are any of the eyewitnesses still alive that were mentioned throughout the years?
I know that one of the eyewitnesses was interviewed within the last 5 years again, and I believe he's still alive.
Did you ever recover the murder weapon? Can you go into that at all?
At this point, it has not been recovered.
Did receive any more information from the suspect, such as, like
Miranda Lee's awesome. Glad she's doing okay because I know she wasn't feeling good there for a few weeks. I like to check in on my homies, glad she's doing okay though.
where the murder occurred? There was, theories that it occurred and then he dropped the body off at that location.
Let that sink in. A 5-decade-old cold case. That's a long time, bro.
Or did it happen there? Is there a little more clear picture of how this took place?
I won't get into the details of the conversation they had with Investigator Westland and Sergeant Stalker, but there's physical evidence, at the scene that we.
Jenny 8675309, the same person as Miranda Lee. Do you think that's possible? Just a question. Just asking.
Prove, I believe, that homicide occurred there.
Are you able to say, was his confession kind of like a relief, like getting this off his chest after all these years? I mean, you guys have had lots of interrogations and lots of confessions for other crimes over the years. How does this characterize?
Dan, Jason, I mentioned this to somebody earlier, but I believe it's got to even be a relief for him after 50 years of living with this. It's had to have been on his mind almost every day. You would think anybody with a conscience, it would. I think he was done fighting it.
You have a mouse? Remember that show where what was it, Warehouse Mouse? What was that show? I used to watch with my kids. It wasn't Warehouse Mouse, it was I think it was Warehouse Mouse. No, it was some band. They had a band and they were in a warehouse and there was this mouse. It's like a kids program. Pretty sure it was Warehouse Mouse.
Personally.
What was it like for you guys? I mean, you put your heart and soul in this. I mean, you guys were, over the years, I know you have a lot of like you mentioned, leads, evidence you're going through, and everything else. What was it like for investigators, your department, to finally have at least a suspect here?
Well, I can speak. I'm going to shut this mic off. I can speak from my behalf. I was actually sitting in a deer stand when I got a text.
If you watch Cats with Mice, it's a very entertaining thing. Cats just don't unalive mice. They have to put it through torture first. My cat, we have 6 cats in this house, and if a mouse comes in this house, right, they don't have a shot in hell.
From Investigator Westland yesterday, and I had a difficult time controlling my excitement. I've been here with this agency for 35 years, and this case has been.
My one cat, one time, I watched it drown the mouse. It literally batted it around for about a half an hour, and then picked it up, brought it over to the water dish, and then put it in a water dish, and then just it's so sad. It's like, why?
Worked on all of those 35 years I've been here. And, you know, I've been through with every investigator that's picked this up and ran with it.
Faye is Jenny 8675309. I mean, I don't care. It's just it's weird that Barb, she came in my chats and Dave's chats a lot for a while. Yes. Good person. She's a nice person. You're leaving, Jocelyn? It's so good to see you, Jocelyn, to be in here. Jocelyn's awesome. Thank you so much for coming in. Hope you have a good night. Who? Look what I started.
And we got to a dead end to finally get some closure. I was able to send a text to
This guy right here kind of reminds me of Rick Snay a little bit.
the former sheriff and two former chief deputies of this agency last night to give them the news, and they were quite excited.
Who was with him when you made the arrest?
Who is with the suspect?
Yes.
He's by himself at the apartment, correct?
Yes.
Can you speak to the victim at all? You know, what was reported over the years is that she was an honor student at the U of M, honor graduate, an artist, and she was on her way to an art show. You know, it seems like a very successful person whose promising life was taken away.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just sad. It's a sad thing when you have these long cases, but it's good they get some closure or something or whatever they want to call it to arrest somebody. I mean, this guy's pretty much lived his life out in the public. Who knows how many more unalivings he's responsible for, but at least they got him. Let's play this one here because I want to show the let's hope they do this here. Hold on a second.
After 50 years, an Owatonna man is behind bars in connection to a cold case homicide. In February of 19...
There's Mary Schlase. This is her. And you can see this paneling behind her here. That's definitely a clue that this was done in the 70s. The hairstyle, the makeup, all of this stuff. But the beautiful woman. It's just so sad.
1974, the body of Mary Schlase was found in rural Springbrook Township, Wisconsin. The University of Minnesota grad student had been hitchhiking to Chicago for an art show. Dunn County investigators arrested 84-year-old John
Look at this guy.
Miller for murder. John Lordson explains how they caught him.
When confronted with the evidence, 84-year-old John K. Miller confirmed his involvement with Mary's homicide.
For half a century, Miller wasn't even on detectives' radar, but within the past year, Dunn County joined forces with Ramapo College in New Jersey, which specializes in genetic genealogy. They used DNA and a stocking cap recovered at the crime scene. That evidence first led detectives to Miller's family members, including his daughter, and then eventually to Miller himself.
It's had to have been on his mind almost every day.
Investigators say the fact that Miller was adopted initially made it harder to track him down. Sheriff Kevin Biggs says he was sitting in a deer stand when he got the call that an arrest had finally been made.
And I had a difficult time controlling my excitement.
Jack and Mary Dodge are also relieved.
We were sitting at the kitchen table last night. We got a call, and he said they arrested somebody, and we went, woohoo!
Yeah. The couple lives near the wooded spot in Springbrook Township where investigators discovered Mary Schlase's body. Authorities say Miller confessed to picking her up while she was hitchhiking and stabbing her after she wouldn't have sex with him. They say he then exited the highway and drove to this road to try and conceal his crime. Jack and Mary's neighbor, Denny Anderson, happened to be
Well, this is good. He confessed to it and gave some information. I mean, that's better than they get sometimes. I mean, you know, he is pretty much nearing the end. Look at this cat right there.
driving by as the suspect was.
This guy wants to get in the image too here. Hey, what about me? Where's my freaking food here? Go to Heather's house. She got a mouse for you.
Leaving Mary's body in the snow. He alerted authorities.
Denny's saying when he went by, the guy was just staring at him when
He said
drove
he'll
by.
never forget
Yeah,
the look on his face.
The 84-year-old Owatonna
Hey, buddy,
man
how are you? It's Curious Contrarian. I was just talking about you. Prof got you banned like 37 times. I haven't been banned yet by anybody yet. Of course, now that I say that, I'm probably going to be banned by everybody. Charlotte, can I ask what a simp is? Never heard that word before.
and was taken from his apartment to the Steele County Jail while he awaits extradition to Wisconsin. In the meantime, the Dodges are hoping the arrest gives Schleus's family much needed closure.
Yeah, and I was surprised, after 50 years that, the fellow that they arrested was still alive. And it was, it came as a bit of a surprise.
In Dunn County, Wisconsin, John Lordson.
Curious Contrarian's awesome. Great channel. Like I said, I've been doing a lot of other stuff lately, so I haven't been able to get into a lot of different chats. Not more than I want to. Plus the whole, Delphi thing's taking up a lot of my time trying to listen to some of the stuff coming out of the case. That's why I can't. Hopefully there's transcripts because, it'd be good to get some actual testimony from that there. They should have had a pool reporter, I think, in that case, at least. All right, so I do want to go back to this guy here, and then I'll get out of here. I wanted to go over a cold case tonight, but I don't think I'm going to have time. A missing persons case. I may come do another live here at some point to go over that because it's a case that's been bothering me for a long time. I think I have her information now. It was about the news reporter that went missing. I forget her name. Hold on here. But let's play this first here. This is they're going to probably put this guy in front of a firing squad, which would be great. If he's guilty, of course, but I'm pretty sure this guy's guilty.
Brian Kohlberger could get the death penalty.
So this guy's accused of unaliving the 4 college students in Idaho, Moscow, Idaho, and he is facing capital punishment. This is a death penalty case, and the hearing was held for the college students, and he could be sentenced to death. And they do have the executed by firing squad there in that state. And that's that would be great. That was
Penalty if he's convicted of first-degree murder in the.
That's something that I would actually pay for. Like I would pay to see that. Jody Hosen Truth. Yep, that's her. That's her. Thank you. Southern Gal. I appreciate that because it would have taken me 4 hours to find that. And I have it. I wanted to do that tonight. But they were out at her. I think they were out at looking for her again.
Stabbing death
a couple of weeks ago, I think.
Of 4 University of Idaho students.
Do you understand the maximum penalty? Yes.
The new law in Idaho could mean execution by firing squad if Kohlberger is found guilty.
You see, this guy has all the hallmark of a budding serial killer. This guy here is about 28. He's just not there. If you look at his face, he's just not. Now, I'm not a professional at this. This is just my opinion. But he just has a blank stare. He doesn't care what's going on around him. He's in my opinion, he looks like a budding serial killer here, and he probably wouldn't have stopped.
Guilty and sentenced to death.
We need to bring back the firing squad.
State Representative Bruce Skog co-sponsored the bill to make the firing squad a secondary method of execution in Idaho.
This firing squad is the backup method if we can't get the pentobarbital.
In recent years, pharmaceutical companies have filed lawsuits to prevent their drugs from being used in lethal injections. It's making it more difficult for states to carry out executions by lethal injection.
Pentobarbital does not have a long shelf life, so it's not as if we can stock up and hold on to it for years.
Idaho called off its scheduled execution of Gerald Pizzuto Jr. in December of 2022 after it couldn't obtain the necessary chemicals to put him to death. Pizzuto has been on death row for nearly 40 years after being convicted of murder in the deaths of an Idaho couple.
None of the firing squad executions, approximately 150 or so, in recent recorded history have been botched.
David Leroy is Idaho's former attorney.
Yeah, he's just got that blank stare. He thought he was really intelligent, but turns out he really wasn't. I mean, like, he's innocent until proven guilty, right? But I think they have more than enough to get him. Someone that's here that told me over-the-counter medicine for memory loss. I don't know what to do for memory loss because I have that all the time. Yeah, Kober doesn't, in my opinion, he's pretty guilty.
Attorney General, now a defense attorney.
I think a good argument can be made that it's a humane method of execution. There is a cruelty factor, I think, of lingering between, as we have here in Idaho, 40 years and 7 years on death row, unknowing whether that sentence will be ultimately executed.
Skog says they look to Utah for direction. It's where the last firing squad execution took place.
There may be a panel of 5 or 6 persons with rifles, and one of them has a blank in it so that they're not sure who had the blank.
There is no method of execution that will always work perfectly.
Robin Marr is the executive director of the Death Penalty Information Center, which studies the death penalty.
As long as we have human beings involved in that protocol, there are going to be opportunities for mistakes. And certainly there may be problems with the firing squad.
All right, let's bring in Court TV crime and justice correspondent Matt Johnson to get us caught up on everything happening so far. Always good to see you, Matt, especially here on set. Thank you for being in here. And we know a hearing is underway. Tell us, please, what are some of the biggest takeaways at this point?
It's been a long hearing, but it's so important as we inch closer to trial. Bryan Kohberger's defense trying to get the death penalty off the table, even before his trial begins, set for summer of next year. Kohberger, accused of killing 4 University of Idaho college students 2 years ago this week.
These poor kids, you get, these 4 victims here that will never, ever see the light of day again. It's just so awful sad. Just a sick thing here.
Today, his defense is arguing death by lethal injection or firing squad would be cruel and unusual punishment under the 8th and 14th Amendments of the U.S. Constitution. Take a listen.
Looking forward, we just don't have those answers yet. We don't know how that's going to unfold. I don't believe his execution is moving forward as is scheduled. And if we look at the immediate history in Idaho, and that's what I'm looking at when I'm standing before you representing Mr. Kohberger and saying to you that Idaho doesn't have a real means of executing someone.
He's a good lawyer, too. If she can't defend this guy here, then he has no choice because she's a really good lawyer.
The firing squad ended up on the books because of the difficulty obtaining the drugs to kill somebody. That's why the firing squad came back. The history of the firing squad, which is really well written by Mr. Logston in our briefing, is that it sat on Idaho's books for years. And in 2009, it came off in light of the Bayes decision.
I mean, you just look at this guy, he's this whole conversation that she's having, he has just got this blank stare, no emotion whatsoever in his face, not moving whatsoever. I mean, everybody has, like little twitches that they do, little things that they do with their hands, movements. facial expressions, eye movements, stuff. This guy is just stoned right here, just stuck in one place. He can't. It's like he can't have any emotion whatsoever.
When you think about it coming off in light of the Bayes decision, and you look
He doesn't even lift his eyebrows here. There's no like smile. There's nothing. There's nothing there.
at what's happened since the Bayes decision, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later today when we're talking about evolving standards of decency. We'll talk about how things have changed in this country since then. But for these,
You know, if you look at everybody else in the court, everybody's doing something. They're, either, eyes raised, they're looking, they look down, they look. This guy, there is absolutely nothing going on here from the neck up at all.
these purposes, when you look at that and you realize Idaho brings it back in 2023, they bring it back because it's not reliable to believe they're always going to be able to get the chemicals to execute somebody. And that's the real problem here. The firing squad hasn't been funded well enough to be built.
I think they're building it right now, as I recall from the media at least, that the construction's actually underway, but I may be wrong about that.
That talks about understanding what a person is conscious and aware of when they face the firing squad. That's information that's important for the court when considering whether or not to strike the death penalty, because Idaho's means of execution really doesn't exist.
And the judge right now taking all of this under advisement, but kind of signaling to what his judgment might be, saying that Kohberger, if he's convicted, the execution date would be decades away from now, possibly, and we don't even know what means of execution would be available in the state of Idaho, Judge Ashley, at that particular time, if and when his execution date is scheduled.
Yeah. Oh, really good legal arguments. I don't envy the
Ann
judge.
Taylor is very good.
Yes, and
fighting
the judge.
for her client.
Ooh, but having to make this decision, Matt, I know he's taking that under advisement.
The problem is they'll probably strike a deal. It's just such a, it's just such a horrible thing. But just let me miss my target kind of 9-10. No kidding, right? Like I would pay for that pay-per-view, put some money back into the state for trying this, piece of crap idiot. Absolutely. All right, so I will play a little of this, and then I'll keep this kind of for next week, so I don't bore you guys too much. I've been here 3 hours already. This is the case of Jody. I don't even know how to pronounce her name. Never did, but this is like a really, I don't want to say old case, but you'll probably hear this case on either like Cold Case Detectives or stuff like that, The Unsolved. This is one of those mysterious cases that have been out there for a while. She was a news reporter in Minnesota, and she went missing. Nobody's ever seen her since. So I wanted to do a little bit on this tonight, but this is just going over a quick overview of her case. This case here has always kind of bothered me because I can't believe they haven't found her yet.
Developments in the decades-long disappearance of former North Iowa newscaster Jody Huisentruit.
The Mason City Police Department confirmed that a tip led them to an investigation in Winstead, Minnesota.
And this was done 5 days ago, so this is fairly recent. This is Iowa. That's right, this is Iowa. And I looked into this case a while back too. I'm surprised they haven't looked into this case as being part of the I-70 killer victims here.
Our ABC 6 News reporter Alexander Schmidt joins us now live from our newsroom with more on this development. And Alex, what can you tell us?
Well, Robin and Maisie, it's been almost 30 years since Jody Huisentruit mysteriously disappeared from her home in Mason City. She's believed to have been abducted on her way to work one early morning in June of 1995, but the case has produced...
Big great minds think alike. I'm sure that Southern Gal did a fantastic job on this. But the I-70 killer is pretty close to this. He or she or whoever, right around the same time, He did the 4 states, I think, Indiana, Texas, Kansas. I think Missouri was part of him, one of them. They never caught him, I don't think. But this would tie right into that. The only difference here is she's not a brunette; she's a blonde, I think.
Very few leads since then.
KIMT news anchor Jody Huisentruit was just 27 at the time of her disappearance. She was declared legally dead in absentia in 2001, but the investigation remains open. The Mason City Police Department confirmed that they recently received a tip that led their investigation to Winstead in rural McLeod County, about a 3-hour drive from Mason City and 100 miles from Long Prairie, where Huisentruit grew up. That trip was conducted about 2 weeks ago, but the department isn't sharing what they were following up on or where it fits in the overall investigation. In a statement, Chief Jeff Brinkley said the MCPD, quote, continues to receive, evaluate, and follow up information it receives related to Huisentrut's disappearance on a regular basis, end quote, and that there would be no additional information for public release at this time.
I promise, like, if we have news on this, we will let the media know. Bar none. Nobody.
So she was, let's see, hold on a second. She was 5'3", 120 pounds, blonde, age 27.
Nobody, I think we all have the same interest here. And, when we're there and if we get there, we'll let you know.
FindJody.com is a website of freelance investigators and.
This is one of those cases that had its shelf life. It had like this huge initial response back then, and then it kind of died down. And then they had, I think it was like 4 years ago, they had more information come out, kind of like that kind of a case. But I do want to go here. Hold on a second. Hold that thought. I'm going to go here. So here's the I-70 killer. And this guy here is not to be confused with the I-70 strangler or the I-65 killer. But this is an unidentified American serial unaliver who's known to have killed at least 6 store clerks in the Midwest in the spring of 1992. And these are the states that he's kind of been suspected: Indiana, Missouri, Kansas, Texas. So this is his profiling here. There was one guy that was unalived, supposedly by this guy in Indiana. But I've been looking at this a little bit, and not saying that this is, but the span of crimes for this guy is between April 8th and May 7th, 1992, and possibly until 2001. So this is right in that time frame. So, all right, let's go back to this, and then I'll get out of here. Let's see here. So they've pronounced her legally unalived because there's been no. I mean, this goes back to. I think this is 1995. I could be wrong. And there's another, Hoken and Huisentruit connection here. Maybe, you never know.
Journalists seeking closure to Jody's story.
It is such a roller coaster for everybody who's been following this case, and mostly for Jody's loved ones. I can't say it's major because we're not in a position to evaluate what they have, but clearly there was significant police presence.
Earlier this year, at an event commemorating the 29th anniversary of Jody's disappearance, friends and family said that they aren't giving up until they find those answers and hopefully justice for Jody.
Yeah, I'm really glad Southern Gal's covering this too, because Southern Gal's really good. Awesome, actually. So maybe we can. I'm going to cover this, I think, next Friday night on my. Not next Friday night, but definitely the next live for some exposure on this, because this case here has always bothered me.
Keep Jody in your heart, and
There's some of those cases that you hear about that you just can't let go of.
send prayers and strength for the family and friends who also desperately need to know what happened.
So
And we all need to know. Where's Jody? And who did this?
I mean, people just don't vanish.
Anyone
off
with
the face of
information
the earth.
related to Who's and Truth's disappearance is encouraged to contact the Mason City Police Department or the Iowa DCI.
Yeah, so she was unalived, I think, in Iowa. So I'll have to look into that. Anyways, I want to say thank you to everybody for coming in. I've been here 3 hours and 15 minutes. My God. Yeah, it's one of those cases where, I mean, they're all important, especially the missing cases. You know, you just want some answers for the families and the victims and stuff like that. But yes, absolutely, I'd love that. I haven't been on your channel for a while. I was on the other night though, a couple times. But like I said, some of the we changed our cell phone service here, so when I'm out over in Boondocks land there in Goshen, New Hampshire, I don't have the same cell service I did before. But Verizon right now is just way too expensive, so we switched. But I want to thank Necessarily Evil for coming up. Necessarily Evil's a good guy. He's great. I appreciate you coming up and spending some time with me here. Southern Gal 2, thank you so much. She's awesome. Channel's great. Both of their channels are great. I'll have to subscribe to Necessarily Evil because I don't think I have. Barbara Hall is arguably one of the greatest people on the planet. Thinking about her all the time and her son, Timmy Dees. Hopefully she gets answers soon. Heather Brown, you're amazing. That's I hope you feel better. I hope you get rid of that mouse too. They can do a lot of damage. Charlotte's great. Charlotte is, it's always good when Charlotte's here in the chat. I hope you're doing well over there in UK. I said Barbara Hall already. Who's in Fruit? Yep. I'm probably butchering that. Who's in Fruit? Zero Cool, thank you for coming in. I appreciate it. Honeybee was in here. I know that. Honeybee is freaking amazing. She does excellent work. Just excellent work. She's just got a great channel. Can't promote her enough. She's just fantastic. Fark you, thank you for coming in. Fark you's awesome. Everybody that comes in here is awesome. I know Charles is Necessarily Evil. So Curious Contrarian's awesome. He's got a great channel. Does great work on the tornado stuff. Charles Godwin was in here. I don't know who that is. Let's see here. Who else was in here? I know that Jocelyn was in here. Let's see here. I want to thank you all for your support. You guys have been awesome. Definitely not here for clicks and views, but I do appreciate everybody coming in and hanging out, all of that stuff. If I miss somebody, I'm sorry. I know I'm going to miss some people. Let's see here. Donnie Kuntz was in here too. Paula was in here. Paula's awesome. Paula's an amazing person. She's got a great channel. Go check out her channel. And I'm going to miss people. I'm sorry. But if I miss you, sorry about that. Because I can only scroll up so much. Once I get up to the top here, I'll be here forever trying to scroll up. So sorry about that. Let me stop sharing this. Everybody have a great weekend, great safe weekend. You guys are all awesome. I'm going to play my outro and get the hell out of here. Thank you guys. Tune into the next live stream by all the other channels in here. And hopefully we get some answers for Delphi this week. That'd be great. Yes, we are all family here for sure. Even if we disagree, sometimes we're all family, and sometimes it's good to disagree. It's the only way you get things done. All right, I'll see you guys later. It's all about the families, the victims. Everybody have a great night and a great weekend. Thank you.